oil pipeline in North Dakota that is contested by environmentalist and Native American groups. The owners of the Dakota Access Pipeline on Tuesday said it was moving equipment to prepare for tunneling under Lake Oahe, the water source that has been a focus of protest, even as federal regulators have not given a go-ahead signal that the line will be able to proceed. Army Corps spokesman Thomas O'Hara told Bloomberg News on Monday that the company had agreed to slow down construction, a statement Energy Transfer refuted. Energy Transfer Partners LP said in a statement on Tuesday the statement released last night by the Army Corps was a mistake and the Army Corps intends to rescind it. To be clear, Dakota Access Pipeline has not voluntarily agreed to halt construction of the pipeline in North Dakota. Construction on part of the $3.7 billion Dakota Access Pipeline was halted in September following protests by the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and others who said the line would desecrate sacred grounds and a spill could contaminate drinking water. President Barack Obama last week said the U.S. government was looking at ways to reroute the pipeline. The continued construction comes amid mounting pressure from activists on banks financing the pipeline to pull their support. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
If you're one of the many frustrated singles who suffer from online dating fatigue, you might just be in luck. A new dating website launched this week that caters to fed-up men and women who simply want to meet eligible singles with unbroken skin or open sores similar to their own. It's called Last Shot.
If you're one of those people who's just ready to throw your hands up in the air and start a life with someone who has unbroken lesion-free skin, or on the other hand, if you're open to someone who has boils and abscesses similar to your own, Last Shot is perfectly calibrated to your needs.
Boasting a user-friendly interface and affordable dues of $4.99 a month, Last Shot simply asks users to log in, then click yes or no if they have open sores. Within moments, they're connected with hundreds of eligible singles who have comparable skin conditions. Reviews have been overwhelmingly positive. Arcuri hopes to one day introduce an upgraded membership experience, which would allow exasperated singles to filter for specific skin conditions.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us here. The toll-free number for this election post-mortem, the 2016 edition.
Nobody died, Ian.
Is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Yeah, maybe nobody died, but
people's hope. Many people's hopes died.
That happened. Lots of people were crying, apparently, within the last 24 hours over Donald Trump winning the presidency in what some say was a surprise upset. A lot of people didn't see this coming.
You weren't surprised?
I knew it was a possibility.
I was
stunned. I don't ever believe the polls, and the polls had Clinton winning in a lot of those polls, and I just don't believe the polls. So, yeah, and what else died? Well, maybe a little bit more of American freedom. I know a lot of people think that Donald Trump is some kind of established or non-establishment outsider candidate, but I think that the next 4 years are going to prove those people wrong. And by the way, welcoming back, besides Ian and Mark here, who've been here for the past few weeks, pretty much every night, Daryl W. Perry back with us.
Yes, good to be back.
I'm sure you have been analyzing in detail what has happened in the United States in the last 24 hours, and I want to get into some of that here. Also, I really want to talk about some of the amazing success stories from here in New Hampshire, because they're, to me, the national election is just a sideshow.
Yep,
it's a very distracting sideshow that a lot of people seem to believe is really important. But the reality is, if you want to see liberty happen in your lifetime, what's important is local action and concentrating your activism in one area. And that's what libertarians have been doing here in New Hampshire for more than a decade. As an official movement. Before that, people who love freedom have been moving here for many decades. So I want to get into that. We'll get to your calls and thoughts. You're welcome to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype at Skype username LRN.FM. Let's go first, though, to China, where Ian is on the line. Go ahead, Ian.
Good morning, and we have a president. I don't know if I like it or not, but the Chinese people, and I don't understand this, they are going bonkers. You'd think they've been voting for their president.
Now, didn't you tell us that the official state media was firmly against Donald Trump in China?
Oh, they are hammering Trump worse than CNN. I swear to you, they're all over him.
So the people of China, you're saying, are reacting very differently than the official state media is.
Absolutely. The people, by and large, are thrilled to see Donald Trump in place with a big question mark. State media says this is the end of the world as we know it.
So, I mean, worst case scenario here, some people certainly would point out that Donald Trump is a protectionist, or at least, a lot of the things he has said suggest that he is. Do you think that, the Chinese people would be happy if they found out that Donald Trump started to impose more trade restrictions and tariffs and things like that?
Well, it's interesting. The thinking Chinese want him to be tougher with China. We all know that China cheats with the currency. They cheat monetarily, and the bargains that they've gotten in trade deals with the U.S. are frightening. It's actually led up to the current recession in China. In our city alone, government workers have taken a 40% pay cut because of the recession. It's gotten that bad.
Wow. I wish we could have that happen here.
They're hoping to get something more out of the president to move back to America, and we are looking at New Hampshire.
Congrats. That means that you will no longer be subject to American foreign policy.
Yeah, you will.
I've been here.
If he moves to New Hampshire, he will not be subject to foreign policy.
That's right.
Mark.
He'll be subject to
domestic policy.
Foreign policy ran into the World Trade Center in 2001.
Go ahead, Ian.
Here's a policy you need to discuss someday. I live in China, but I still am obligated to pay U.S. federal income tax.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about that.
I've been here 20 years. I've been here 20 years. I file every year, and I get the same hubbub. Why don't they make American corporations that go to China continue to pay American corporate tax as well?
Because American corporate tax,
everybody back.
They do have to pay corporate tax, but the problem is that they keep the money outside the country,
right?
Because we have a high corporate tax.
He's been keeping his money outside of the United States for 20 years while he's in China, but he still has to pay the damn tax. He's asking, why is it different?
Well,
because corporations have lobbying power.
It's not different, though.
His money has stayed in China.
Okay, well,
but the IRS says you have to give us some of that.
We don't advocate for more tyranny against other people simply because there's tyranny against this guy.
We're not advocating for that. He's just asking why it is that way.
Okay.
Yeah, his question is, why should it not be the same way?
Hold on. 3 people talking at once is not
Why
right.
should his money not be treated the same way as corporate money? If he is not bringing the money into the United States, he is not repatriating that money, so therefore it should not be taxed.
Nobody should be taxed. I mean, obviously, but the reason why corporations get a break and individuals don't is because corporations have lobbyists.
Well, hold on. Those corporations would simply leave the United States. Since a corporation is a piece of paper.
They have left the United States.
No, they haven't. They're not corporate. Then they're not U.S. Then wouldn't be subject to U.S. corporate tax. And
it doesn't sound like they are.
Yes, they are.
Not. Example.
He's saying they're not.
Ford Motor Company. Ford Motor pays 0 tax to the U.S. on any monies generated from Asia. I pay 30% to those pigs in Washington.
Obviously, Mark, if Ford is selling a car in the United States, they're going to pay tax on that. What he's saying is if they're selling cars and manufacturing them outside of the U.S., they're not paying tax.
What does Kyocera pay the U.S. government for things they sell outside of the United States?
Kyocera is a Japanese firm.
Oh, fine. Fine. Why does that's the point that I'm trying to make here is that Kyocera doesn't pay anything because they're a foreign company. If you made Ford pay U.S. corporate taxes of 35% on every penny they made around the world, they would cease to be an American company the very next day. They would incorporate in Canada or Japan or wherever it was best for them.
Corporations have preference compared to human beings.
That's not a preference. It's a nod to reality. Now, I'm not saying what's happening to him is right. I'm saying that corporations can move easier than people can.
Right, but he's been living in China for 20 years.
I know where he's
Why
been
is his money treated differently than Ford's money or Apple's money?
You're wrong, Mark.
Because they can force him to do it, and they can't force Ford or Apple.
You said it's easy for corporations to move. No, it's not. It's not easy to move a manufacturing plant. That's an incredibly expensive process. It's much easier for an individual to move internationally than it is a corporation.
Does the Bavarian Motor Works own a car manufacturing facility in Greenville, South Carolina?
I haven't the slightest clue.
The answer to that is yes.
Okay.
And the Bavarian Motor Works company is not a U.S. company. To move your corporation, you don't have to move your manufacturing facility. You can manufacture in whatever company is convenient for you.
Are you telling me you don't? Hold on. Are you telling me you think Kyocera can move their manufacturing facility to the United States and not pay taxes here because they're based in some other country? Come on.
No, they would pay taxes certainly on whatever they would have to. They'd face whatever
Then
taxes.
what are we talking about here?
The point I'm trying to make, and it's a very simple one, is that corporations make more money. Big corporations make more money than he does. So he could have changed his citizenship anytime he wanted and ceased to pay taxes. They would have done that for the right of. They will do that. Corporations will change their country of origin in
That's what happened with Burger King.
I don't think they managed to move. They were trying to.
You don't think that happened? Did it somehow fail?
I'm fairly certain they moved, but a
Okay.
bunch of conservatives got mad after saying, if you don't love it, leave America, then saying, you can't leave America to get rid of America.
Hey, Ian, thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate the discussion. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Donald Trump winning the election here in the United States last night. Mark, you said it took you by surprise when you woke up this morning.
I was surprised, yeah. I didn't really expect it to be the case.
Daryl, you and I pretty much stayed up through the bitter end.
We were up till about 3 o'clock.
We'll
been up at 7.
Right, then we had to get up to go to the Supreme Court here in New Hampshire for the Robin Hood hearing, which is a whole other thing we could talk about, but we'll hold off on that because the election is hot on people's minds. You can join us here at Free Talk Live.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-945-1063. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-945-1063. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-945-1063. That's 1-800-945-1063.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, dial toll-free here. Bring up anything that you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Healthcare's all messed up in the United States, and don't expect Donald Trump to fix it for you.
Thanks, Obama.
By the way, it'd be nice if we had a healthcare system that actually was based in the free market. Unfortunately, that is likely not going to be occurring anytime in the foreseeable future. However, there is a free market healthcare company that can give you freedom from health insurance. It's healthexcellenceselect.com, and they provide you with a proactive health assessment daily, if you'd like. No charge, 24-hour access to doctors, and also a medical information card that you can give to EMS, first responders, the emergency room, or whatever medical professional you want. You can check them out right now at healthexcellenceselect.com. Any kind of doctor, traditional, integrative, chiropractic, acupuncture, and massage. You'll love the service and price. healthexcellenceselect.com.
And I'm guessing that unlike the Obamacare exchanges, their rates are not going up by 25% next year.
You'll have to check with them on that one. I'm not sure. It's a good question, though. healthexcellenceselect.com.
Last I looked, a family could get covered for less than $600 a month. And if you're paying your own health insurance, you know that's really, really competitive.
All right, let's go back to your calls and thoughts here. Obviously, folks have things they want to say about the election last night. And I definitely want to talk about some of the amazing success stories that we've had here in New Hampshire with the Libertarian Party actually doing something that's pretty noteworthy. Even though they didn't win the gubernatorial election last night, they did win something arguably even more important.
First time in 20 years.
Yes, and we'll tell you what happened here in moments. But first...
And it wasn't just New Hampshire.
Yep.
I want to point that out, that it was not just New Hampshire where this happened.
We'll get to that coming up here in moments. Also, I want to talk about some of the ballot initiatives tonight, too, including marijuana and whatever else has been on the ballot that maybe I didn't know about. You can call in and tell us what cool ballot initiatives or terrible ballot initiatives passed in your area. You can join us here at 855-450-FREE. We got Rusty. He's in Jasper, Texas, listening on YouTube over at cam.freetalklive.com. Go ahead, Rusty. Rusty in Texas. Rusty going once. Rusty going twice. Tell you what, I'm going to put Rusty back on hold. Maybe he ended up in a bad cell. Our toll-free number again here is 855-450-FREE. So, yeah, Donald Trump pretty much swept up last night. I mean,
he's not winning. He didn't sweep up. He got lucky. The Electoral College favored him. He is down by the popular vote. This is one of those unusual circumstances. Now, we're not
like
done.
The year 2000?
Yeah, we're not done yet, but the popular vote has gone with Clinton. But the
When
electoral...
you say we're not done, what do you mean by that?
Well, there are still precincts reporting and making sure that there's recounts going on. And
so what you're saying is maybe when it's all said and done, he might actually have the popular vote?
Maybe. It's close.
What's the difference? Do you happen to know offhand?
I don't. I can't.
Last time I looked, it was about 1 million.
Okay.
Give me a minute and I'll pull that up.
So, this national election, I consider it to be just a sideshow. I posted a story here, actually pretty exhaustive kind of election recap over at freekeen.com. I'm going to share that with you here, and we'll, of course, talk about it throughout. But in the next 4 years, I'll predict that Trump will ultimately be disappointing those who think he's somehow an outsider or anti-establishment. But I would love to be proven wrong about that. That's just my prediction. Meanwhile, the left is mad, and secession will be growing into a serious idea for many of them as they begin to see the value in breaking away from the United States. Indeed, Californians already held a Calexit rally.
Sweet.
Like Brexit,
Yeah.
the whole Britain leaving the EU. Now it's Calexit. It was Texit before this. I suspect Texas is not as interested in leaving now since they voted for Donald Trump. But California, of course, went solidly for Hillary Clinton. And, they're probably feeling the burn right now.
When do we get
Hillary
the Hexit?
Hillary has a 203,000 vote lead.
Okay. So, Calexit, I have a different story about that. We can talk more about it here in a little bit.
California.
That one's cute, too. But Californians, some of them are pretty serious about leaving. They were outside of the State House in Sacramento protesting today.
Good for them.
Good timing on their part. There's no better time than now to start talking about secession, and I think now we need secession more than we have ever needed secession.
I'll tell you what we really need, even more than secession, is California seceding.
That would be fantastic.
That would be secession.
Goodbye.
Yeah, but California seceding could mean that others would then follow suit, like perhaps other West Coast states. Oregon, Washington, both went for Hillary Clinton. They could all break away, and a lot of the other people in the United States would be very happy about that. I also would like to see New Hampshire leave. And New Hampshire continued, by the way, in its tradition, and I like this about New Hampshire. It has a tradition of, every couple, 4 years, 2 to 4 years, New Hampshire kind of just changes its color. Like, they'll vote for a Democrat.
That's what happens with swing states.
Right. And, well, in this case, a lot of those swing states went for Trump, whereas sometimes they don't do that. But anyway, New Hampshire has this tendency to not only change its color as far as its presidential election, but I'm talking about just, the state reps and the governorship and things like that. So
right.
we've had
That's
Democrats.
what really makes a swing state.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd point out, people love to lump the Northeast, specifically New England, all together and imagine that it's Boston or something. Mm-hmm. But New Hampshire is the only state in the Union that went red, and I think it's very, very close to being red. I mean, it's very.
Well, they voted for Hillary by 0.1%.
Okay, yeah, the margin's razor thin. Yeah. If they got it, because it's on my map, it's not reported at this point. It's
really?
It's just too close.
Well, one thing that's interesting is that it does look as though Hillary's going to win New Hampshire. But we have a Republican that just got elected governor.
By 5%, almost 5%.
A much bigger lead than Trump, for sure.
Right. So people went to the polls. They voted for, many people went to the polls and voted for Hillary and then Sununu. Democrat for president and Republican for governor.
That's correct. There were thousands of people who did that here in New Hampshire.
And there were a lot of people that wound up voting for the Libertarian for governor as well. More people, and this is something that I predicted, more people voted for the Libertarian gubernatorial candidate in New Hampshire than voted for Gary Johnson.
It was close. It wasn't that much more, but
right. But
Gary Johnson got what, 4.2%, and Max Abrams.
Gary, I think, got 4.1. Max got 4.3.
4.3.
So it's not a huge difference, but it was still more votes, and there were a lot of people thinking that Gary was going to bring everything in. But the way minor party tickets often work, the down ticket candidates have a reverse coattail effect, meaning that a strong local candidate will bring more votes to the top of the ticket.
Interesting.
Than vice versa.
And we'll get into Max's campaign here in a little bit, but let's go back to your calls. Actually, we're going to do that here in a moment. Let me make sure we actually have Rusty. Rusty, are you with us in Jasper, Texas?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. You're actually a little bit loud, but I'm sure they'll turn you down a bit there at the board op side. Go ahead with your thoughts, and then we'll continue.
Yeah, just real quick. I think about a few nights ago on the show, kind of asked people, I think yourself, you said thought Trump would likely win, and I think Mark was kind of on the fence. But, wasn't surprised wasn't that big a surprise to me. The pollsters were wrong. The media was wrong.
They sure were. Stand by, Rusty. We'll continue with your analysis here, and your thoughts on the election are also welcome, or whatever's on your mind. You can take control of the airwaves here, and some more success stories coming up. 855-450 free.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman Stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
Want to build a maintenance-free, low and slow charcoal briquette fire that burns for hours for free? MeatMastersRadio.com will show you how to build a low-temp charcoal fire that's guaranteed fiddle-proof. It's easy and free. MeatMastersRadio.com teaches charcoal barbecue skills on new topics every week. Go to MeatMastersRadio.com. That's MeatMastersRadio.com.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, a fitness writer, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Like many of the million people who are living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every single day. And sometimes my nerves are so raw that if you brushed up against me in an elevator, I'd scream. I can't sleep at night from the pain, and sometimes the spasms in my legs are so intense they will wake me up throughout the night. I've tried the strongest prescription medications available, and I'm going to tell you, they do not work. In fact, they leave me in a stupor, and most of the time, it's impossible to even live your life. Now, I've tried medical marijuana, and I'm going to tell you something, it works. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, election recap, post-mortem, whatever you want to call it here. You can call in and join us toll free. Bring up anything you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Entrepreneurship, progress, innovation. you can achieve personal success while helping to create a prosperous society. As Ludwig von Mises said, economics deals with society's fundamental problems. It is the main and proper study of every citizen. Visit fee.org/FTL for free online lessons, perfect for the classroom or self-study. The course is called Economics in One Day. It's easy to understand, but will impart upon you an understanding of economics greater than school ever could. For over 70 years, the Foundation for Economic Education has been providing free resources to teachers and students. You can start today at no charge at fee.org/FTL. That's fee.org/FTL, and learn why entrepreneurship matters. As we go back to your calls and thoughts, Rusty is in Jasper, Texas. He's a Republican down there in Texas. You said that you saw this coming. Go ahead.
Yeah, the media and the pollsters are wrong. They were oversampling Democrats. They were discounting Trump's appeal to many Americans. You know, this anti-East Coast, West Coast sentiment that, you know, that he touched voters that haven't been touched by a candidate, energized them to get out to the polls. I think he also split the union vote, probably getting a large portion of that. That would explain kind of the Rust Belt states. Just from the exit polling done by The Economist and CNN and the Cornell University, it's showing that he's doing better with people of color than Romney did in 2012. So this whole narrative that Trump won because everyone's sexist and racist just isn't true. They're trying to push that out there now. That's not the case. He won fair and square. It's a done deal. It's sad to.
Well, the fact that he won fair and square doesn't mean that he didn't win because because enough percentage of the population is sexist or racist. I mean, those aren't mutually exclusive terminologies.
Well, that's also an oversimplification.
Sure.
Right? Just like the people on the right saying that, people only voted for Hillary because she's a woman and they wanted to vote for a woman.
Some did.
It's an oversimplification.
Some did,
There are a lot of factors at play.
Yep.
And you can't just, point to, I know this guy that voted for Trump, and that guy's a racist, so everybody that voted for Trump is a racist.
Right. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the Democrats are trying to push that out there as an excuse.
Right, and I'm saying that that's an oversimplification.
Yeah, it's horrible. It just shows how biased the media is. One of the best highlights of last night was just seeing them eat crow live on TV. Breaking down in tears or going like, you aren't dreaming, it's reality, you aren't in hell.
Yeah, we heard some of that today. Daryl, you and I were driving in Concord and leaving Concord. We were listening to New Hampshire
NPR.
Public Radio, or NPR on NHPR. And one of their commentators was admitting she was wrong. She misjudged the American people, and she was definitely eating some crow on the air.
Yeah, and I think that this is something that the media is going to have to look at one way or the other. One of two things occurred here. The media was attempting to manipulate the vote, or they are completely out of touch, or not completely, they are sufficiently out of touch with the American population that they couldn't see this coming. Everything I heard when I looked at polls, when I listened to this stuff, it was all essentially they were doing everything but saying, hey, Hillary's going to win this.
Right, and even if you looked at 538.com, that's Nate Silver's website, where he's pretty good on being able to...
No, he was good. Now he failed.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
I know. Well, that's what
okay.
When we hold up this,
Mark. Prior to yesterday,
no, this is important. This golden boy that was telling us this is how the election's going to go was wrong.
Right, and if you would have let me finish my sentence, that's what I was going to say.
I don't care about your opinion. What I care about here, I'm not
yesterday, he was correct, and he was very, very wrong this year.
Yeah, but prior to the only thing that matters was yesterday. That's it. Up to this point, that's all. It was just polls. The only person I know that was right on this was Ian Freeman. For God's sakes, he doesn't even watch the news. I have a hell of a time getting him to read one chapter.
Right, I didn't make a prediction.
Yeah, you did.
I just said I don't believe the polls, and anything can happen.
Right, and Ian's not the only one that's right. Tom Knapp posted last week.
The Napster. He posted his prediction,
and he gave two reasons why he thinks that Trump was going to wind up winning.
Okay.
He says that he believes that a non-trivial faction of Trump voters were not willing to admit to anyone, let alone a pollster, that they were going to vote for Trump. giving that unusually large size of undecided voters, even up until a day or two before the election. He says even though this is an open election with no incumbent, there's an extent to which this is a referendum on Barack Obama and the Democratic Party that makes Trump the challenger and Hillary the incumbent. Voters who wait until the last minute to decide generally vote for the challenger, not the incumbent.
Okay.
That effect may be a little muted since it's the incumbent party, not the person we're talking
But she's
about.
close enough.
But it's still the way with trends. That means that Trump is going to be gaining, not losing, undecided voters.
She's a Clinton, and she's the Secretary of State. That's pretty much an incumbency.
Right.
I agree.
And so, therefore, you have this large shift of undecideds, some of whom might not have actually been undecided. They just didn't want to admit that they were voting for Trump.
Now, Rusty, quick question here. You've called us quite a bit about the Texas secession movements, and there's a couple of them down there. Do you feel like this win for Trump, which Texas went for Trump, do you feel like this is going to put the kibosh, is going to put a dampener on the secession movement there?
It's always going to grow. It may not grow at the same rate as the Hillary presidency would have affected it. I want to say with the Cal Exit people, I support them 100%. Hopefully it's not the same people who dog Texas every time we're in the news pushing for independence. That would seem a little hypocritical. But I'm all for self-determination. I think we're still growing. We got the legislative session coming up here. We got some state reps who will probably push some legislation that we'll be supporting. I think last time I checked, we gained 10,000 signers last night. So it's a growing movement. I don't think whoever is president is going to really end the Texas independence movement. It's out of the bag. The genie's out of the bottle. You can't put it back in there.
I hope you're right about that. I hope that the Texit idea does not go to sleep for the next 4 years. And if the people out there in Texas who support secession continue to push for it openly during a Trump presidency, then I think they definitely deserve some credit if that's what happens. Hey, Rusty, thanks for the call and your thoughts. Our toll-free number here tonight, 855-450-FREE. So we still have the ballot measures to talk about, what happened in New Hampshire. That was really awesome news. And, of course, your thoughts are welcome on anything.
Well, let's not forget that Trump, prior to the general election really coming around, the big critique of Trump was that he was a Democrat. Right? Like this is a Democrat running as a Republican, wolf in sheep's clothing, that whole sort of claim. That
He was a registered Democrat in the 90s. Then he joined the Reform Party in 2000, briefly sought their nomination and then backed out, and then kind of went back to being like a Democrat or independent, and then became a Republican all of a sudden.
Yeah, Renee was worried last night that Trump was going to somehow pass some law cracking down on bisexuality and gay people, and my response to that was, he used to be a Democrat. He's probably been around plenty of gay people in his time in the entertainment industry. It's very unlikely that this guy is going to do anything like that.
I've got lots of gay friends.
Right.
My gay friends are the best. They're wonderful. They've got the best fashion sense, even though none of them tell me how to dress. They don't tell me that I don't look good as an orange person, but I'm here representing all orange Americans.
And then I think somebody made a comment that was similar on NHPR or NPR today, pointing out that this guy probably isn't really a threat to gay rights in any way, shape, or form.
Now, immigrants are another question.
Yeah, that one is definitely concerning. Remember, his plan for building the wall, if you recall, was...
And making Mexico pay for it.
Right. His proposal there was that he would tax remittances. So money that people are sending from the United States into Mexico, that he would make add a tax to that to make it very, very expensive.
Okay, just send them Bitcoin.
Exactly. Bitcoin, of course, is the solution to that problem. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. But certainly he's not going to lessen the police state. That's for sure.
When we ran out, we stopped using it. Why would you stop? Why undo all the good that's been accomplished? We thought everything was fine, and that was not a good thing. No. He started stinking. It was awful.
Shedding comes back, loss of hair, lots of dandruff.
Scratching will return. His shedding will increase.
If I ever took Roy off of Dinovite, he would go back to his hair loss.
DINOVITE.com. Dynavite.com.
859-428-1000.
When I get down to the bottom of my box of Dynavite.
When I get to about 3/4.
Oh no, I've got a couple more scoops. It's time to place my order. Dynavite.com.
Each and every day she is getting that Dynavite.
The omega-3 fatty acids, flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa, the digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
Just feed your dog right. Use Dynavite. If it's working, don't quit.
Don't do what I did and run out. 859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
Are you happy washing your hands with harsh chemicals? Are you happy doing laundry with detergents? Are you happy paying high prices? Find your happiness with Pure Soap. These all-natural, earth-friendly Pure Soaps are the very best you've ever used. Buy in bulk. Get a 12, 36, or 48-month supply, or get items individually and still save big. You're getting soap products twice as good as what you're using now, earth-friendly and natural soaps. Your family deserves the best. Happiness is 5starsoap.com. Why not put your money up the drain for a change? See them at 5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Cal Ben Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils. See their full selection of soaps at 5starsoap.com. That's F-I-V-E starsoap.com. Or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Post-mortem edition after the 2016 United States election. There's a lot to say, and you're welcome to join us here with your thoughts and calls. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Tonight, you've got Ian here.
And Mark.
And Daryl.
Don't forget, if you support Free Talk Live, then you can shop with us. Just go to shop.freetalklive.com and enter Amazon through the links you'll find there. There's Amazon US, UK, and Canada. You go into the right Amazon for you, and Free Talk Live gets a cut of your purchase. It's really that simple. It's the same great Amazon you're used to. It's just that they're sending us a cut for sending them the business. So once again, start your shopping at shop.freetalklive.com as we go to the phones and the fun. Eric in Florida, you're on Free Talk Live listening online.
Gentlemen, how you doing?
Hey, what's on your mind, Eric?
I just got a couple comments on this, on what happened last night. As far as the polling goes, I'd been hearing for at least the last 4 weeks in alt media, especially with Paul Joseph Watson and Roger Stone and and Alex Jones, those kind of alt-right guys, that the polling, they were oversampling Democrats and independents in Democratic areas when they were doing the polling, and that Trump's polling had said that he was doing much better than the media was letting on. So I really think that the media created an echo chamber, and actually the WikiLeaks it said that the Clinton campaign had actually sent some emails to different pollsters with suggested target polling audiences to create the illusion that she was doing
I thought
better.
that was specifically for the primary polling because she wanted to make it look like she had that much more support than Bernie.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure it carried over into the general. It just sort of shows that there was a pattern,
if they're
at least,
cultivating
that they
those
were,
relationships with pollsters during the primary, they're likely going to try to exploit them during the general. We just don't have those emails likely at this point.
Right. So it's unfortunate we got an authoritarian in there. I think, and also with Brexit,
you would have had
an
an authoritarian in there whether it was Clinton or Trump.
I understand, but as we go forward for 2020, hopefully the LP can get its act together and field a better candidate, right? And we can reach out to some of these disaffected people. They're not all bigots and horrible people. A lot of these people are very concerned about economic issues, about these treaties, the international military obligations, and economic, NAFTA and the like. So,
how'd the Libertarians do down in Florida? Were you paying attention?
I think we did okay. I haven't even checked. I stayed up late, waited for everything to happen. I went and I did vote for the ticket. I didn't vote for any other politician. Just the Libertarian guys. We got medical marijuana.
Yeah, congratulations on that. Finally.
Yeah. We got some decent tax relief for average people, homesteading tax.
Now, it's Florida, so just for listeners that don't know this, Mark, you and I are from there originally. They always have ridiculous ballot measures, which are actually constitutional amendments, because Florida doesn't have your traditional ballot measure process. So whatever the ballot measures are actually amendments that are proposed to the Constitution. If they pass, they go through. And I remember when we were down there was the smoking ban, there was the choo-choo train.
The super fast choo-choo.
Yeah, which they reversed later.
A legal requirement for pigs to have a certain amount of space.
So were there anything, so the good news from the ballot measures in Florida was medical marijuana passed, and it did pretty well this time compared to last time when it didn't pass. But what else was on the Florida ballot measures that are worth talking about? Was there anything?
There were two tax reduction proposals.
Really?
One had to do with it was like in the homesteading clause.
Okay.
Which I'm not.
I've got the brief description pulled up in front of me of the four things that were on the ballot.
All right.
There was a solar energy something that wound up.
That was a monopoly by FPL.
That wound up losing. There was medical cannabis that passed.
Excellent.
There was a property tax exemption for first responders and a property tax break for senior citizens.
And did those pass?
Both of those passed.
Okay.
Right.
Time to move to Florida and be an old fireman.
Not for me. I'm not going back to Florida.
It'd be nice if there was a ballot amendment for tax relief for all Florida citizens. It's just they've got to target these demographics to get.
If you want tax relief, you got to move out of Florida. I'm sorry.
Actually,
what are you talking about? Tax relief? Florida's significantly less costly to live in than New Hampshire.
We're okay. We're number 6. You guys are number 1 up there, and I'm thinking about moving up there.
You're talking about on the level of freedom, but when it comes to tax freedom, Florida, my property taxes in Florida were $1,400 a year.
Sure, but there's also no sales tax. There's no sales tax.
The plastic crap I pay at Walmart for 7% is nothing compared to the additional $4,300 a month.
There's also a lot of other freedoms that you have here that you don't have in Florida.
Let's talk about that.
Right.
So the property tax exemption thing for the first responders, even though that's what it says on the brief description, it was only for disabled first responders that were injured in the line of duty and the spouses thereof.
I mean, that's like a couple dozen people.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's probably reach out to the unions, trying to get some of those unions to go one way or the other.
Hashtag Blue Lives Matter.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So, Eric, you're talking about moving to New Hampshire. It's something that's under consideration for you?
Yeah, I am. I went to the Free State Project. I watched the 101 Reasons to Move.
Excellent.
That movie is 2 years old now.
It is almost 2 years old. We've got about another week, and then it will celebrate its 2-year anniversary, which we'll be talking about here on Free Talk Live. Great video. You can watch it for free. For those that don't know about it, you can go to 101reasonsfilm.com, and you can see it there. It's free to watch on YouTube. It's an hour-long documentary about why New Hampshire really is the destination for people who love liberty, and why, as more people keep coming here, it just keeps getting better and better. And we'll give you some more success stories here in a little bit. Eric, thanks for your call tonight. Look forward to seeing you up here. Dress warm. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Libertarian Banker is on the line, listening online at lrn.fm.
Hey, guys, just wanted to ask Daryl, are you able to find out how many people wrote your name in the national election?
That's going to wind up taking some digging.
Yeah, a lot of digging.
A lot of digging, and also it's going to be several days before the Secretary of State websites have any of the write-ins actually tabulated.
Is it even worth the time to dig around for that information?
Oh, I'm going to dig just because I love looking at the numbers.
Okay, all right.
I love looking at the numbers, so I'm going to dig.
Well, we did try to find.
What does the trend look like, Daryl? Is it you think you're gonna get more votes this year than in the past?
Well, I've
never run
done
for
a
president
write-in campaign for president before.
Okay.
But it does seem that there's a higher than usual number of write-in candidates. About 0.25% of all ballots cast across the country were write-in votes. So higher than normal. Yeah.
Libertarian Banker, what about you? Your thoughts on the election?
Well, I mean, obviously, woke up this morning kind of in shock at the result. But I mean, honestly, I voted for Gary Johnson, and either way, we were screwed. So, to be honest, I'm kind of indifferent about it.
It is worth pointing out, I don't know if we mentioned this before, but Johnson did do about 3 times as well as Jill Stein. Both of them did about 3 times the votes that they did back in 2012.
And Johnson was the best performing libertarian ever
in 2012.
And
So, Ian, that means you were wrong about the 2%.
I was wrong about that. Yeah, I thought that he wouldn't get more than 2%, and he got 3.
Well, and he's made it so that libertarians are on the ballot and don't have to spend a lot of money and time.
No, I don't think
in a lot of states.
In a lot of states, the libertarians did wind up getting ballot access
based on Johnson.
Some of them based on Johnson, others not.
Because here in New Hampshire, it was not Johnson.
Right. There are a lot of states where the vote is or the ballot retention is based on a vote where president either has nothing to do with it or is one of several offices that can obtain ballot access.
While he did better than my prediction, he also did not do near as well as he was showing in the polls. Johnson was showing between, 6 and 9% or so in the polls?
Towards the end, he was showing between 5 to 7.
So, yeah, still not even close.
Good. And again, that is in line with history to where the candidates other than Republicans and Democrats do not do as well as what they poll.
Same thing with Jill Stein. She was polling 3%. She didn't, didn't get there.
She polled a percent.
She got 1%.
Which, again, 3 times better than she did 4 years ago.
No doubt about it. But again, as I point out here, or I pointed out in another version of the blog I didn't publish, was that Harambe, when his name was included, he did about as well as Gary Johnson in the polls.
So he's Harambe.
So people are going to vote for anyone besides Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Thanks, Banker. More coming up on Free Talk Live.
You want disruption? You got disruption. Cell 411, the world's most disruptive and empowering app, knows you want ride sharing with payment options for cash, Bitcoin, silver and barter, as well as credit cards. And they know you want more than promises. Cell 411 delivers. The same great emergency management app, now with ride sharing. Freedom to travel is a right. You don't need big business telling you how to do it and taking fees. Go to the App Store now and download Cell 411 and get riding.
If you had one day to teach someone economics, what would you say? We would say that innovation and prosperity requires economic freedom. Visit fee.org/courses and check out Economics in One Day, a crash course in free market economics that you can present to your community. For over 70 years, the Foundation for Economic Education has been a champion of liberty. Start today at no charge by visiting fee.org/courses and learn why economic freedom matters.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Wednesday, gold is $15 higher at $1,290 per ounce. Silver is 27 cents higher at $18.67 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $726 US. Precious metals prices are trending higher based on uncertainty and change. We are going to see a lot of that. Call Robertson Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, November 9th, 2016. Silver is trading at $18.66 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,317 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 3.7 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $735. Antiwar.com reports a series of airstrikes and artillery attacks against the various targets in the Nusra Front-controlled northwestern Syrian province of Idlib have left at least 20 people killed, 10 of them civilians, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The largest attack, according to the observatory, was in Khan Shaykhun, where 7 children and 2 pregnant women were killed. The observatory said their initial information was that the strikes were carried out by Russian forces. Russia's defense ministry, however, denied any involvement, saying that no Russian airplanes had been operating in the area and complaining that the observatory was engaged in information provocations against them. Though it's often unclear who is responsible for such strikes, Russia has carried out multiple attacks against Idlib in the recent weeks. While Russia does not always provide absolute clarity on their operations, it is unusual for them to offer such a pointed denial.
In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
UPI reports Republicans will maintain at least a foothold in the federal government by retaining their majority in the U.S. House of Representatives, though control of the Senate is still too early to call. It's unclear what the GOP majority will be in the House, but NBC News was the first to report that they will at least remain in the majority, and it is likely Speaker Paul Ryan will remain in the leadership role to begin 2017. In the battle for the Senate, 3 of the 9 races most likely to decide control have been called, 2 for Republicans and 1 a pickup for the Democrats, the first of 5 they will need to win an outright majority. GOP Senator Marco Rubio won re-election to his seat in Florida, a race he entered late, only after his presidential campaign faltered. And Tammy Duckworth, the Democratic Illinois Congresswoman, defeated incumbent GOP Senator Mark Kirk in a race that was widely predicted would have handed Democrats one of the seats they were looking for. The 9 races where a seat is open or most likely to change hands were in New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Illinois, Wisconsin, Missouri, Nevada, Florida, and Indiana. Coming into Tuesday, the House seemed a much safer bet for Republicans, and the election night tallies proved true. The GOP held an enormous 59-seat advantage coming into Tuesday. The nonpartisan Cook Political Report listed 18 seats as pure toss-ups, not enough to flip control of the chamber to Democrats even if they ran the table in all of them.
For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co.
Reuters reports Energy Transfer Partners LP on Tuesday said it was not slowing down construction of an oil pipeline in North Dakota that is contested by environmentalist and Native American groups. The owners of the Dakota Access Pipeline on Tuesday said it was moving equipment to prepare for tunneling under Lake Oahe, the water source that has been a focus of protest even as federal regulators have not given a go-ahead signal that the line will be able to proceed. Army Corps spokesman Thomas O'Hara told Bloomberg News on Monday that the company had agreed to slow down construction, a statement Energy Transfer refuted. Energy Transfer Partners LP said in a statement on Tuesday the statement released last night by the Army Corps was a mistake and the Army Corps intends to rescind it. To be clear, Dakota Access Pipeline has not voluntarily agreed to halt construction of the pipeline in North Dakota. Construction on part of the $3.7 billion Dakota Access Pipeline was halted in September following protests by the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and others who said the line would desecrate sacred grounds and a spill could contaminate drinking water. President Barack Obama last week said the U.S. government was looking at ways to reroute the pipeline. The continued construction comes amid mounting pressure from activists on banks financing the pipeline to pull their support. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Shortly after having sexual intercourse with a prostitute earlier this afternoon, local man Jacob Reynolds told reporters that he never expected the experience would bring him to new heights of emotional and spiritual fulfillment.
I was convinced that having sex with a complete stranger behind my wife's back would leave me feeling drained and empty on the inside, but my self-esteem is through the roof.
Reynolds, who said he paid $150 for a 30-minute block of time, said that his moderate expectations for the encounter were instantly surpassed by what turned out to be a deeply personal sexual communion that transported him to a new plane of emotional intimacy.
I've never felt a stronger sense of spiritual connection. When our bodies met, there was an immediate sense of familiarity and comfort that just washed over me. I think it was the most meaningful experience of my life.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. Apparently, there are people out in California who are protesting this afternoon, actually throughout the day today, in favor of the Calexit. Calexit. C-A-L-E-X-I-T, the idea of California leaving the United States.
I prefer California.
That one's cute. We'll get into that story if we get the chance, but I wanted to talk further about some of the real success stories in the election last night. Obviously, a lot of people are either elated or really angry about Donald Trump, but that's the sideshow. The real story, especially for libertarians, as we are here on Free Talk Live. By the way, with you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And Daryl.
The real story is, how did the libertarians do? How do they do, not just in New Hampshire?
There are some people that are upset that Gary Johnson did not get 5%.
I'm not surprised he didn't.
I had a discussion with somebody on Facebook earlier where, she had posted, I'm upset that Gary didn't get 5%. Or actually, her statement was, libertarians are upset. And my response was, only the libertarians that wanted the federal welfare check.
Right.
And she said, no, I wanted the ballot access.
Ooh.
And I said, Gary Johnson getting 5% had nothing to do with ballot access.
I thought you said during the break that some states...
There were some states where a performance in a state had something to do with ballot access. But a presidential candidate getting 5% nationally does not grant them or that party ballot access in every state.
But are there some right? But there are some states wherein if he did get 5%, he
would have given some benefit. So Michigan,
it's safe to say that getting 5%, setting 5% as a goal, includes as a benefit ballot access in some states.
In some states, but there are some states, and I'll go over the list, where 1% gets ballot access or 2% for the presidential candidate. Michigan will give a political party that gets 5% nationally a presidential primary in Michigan. But those parties already are ballot qualified by meeting other vote tests. And in Michigan, both the Working Class Party, which is a new one, and the Libertarians polled enough to qualify for a primary in 2018. So in Michigan, a party has to get 154,040 votes for a statewide race to qualify for a primary at the next election. The Libertarians had 3 candidates meet that test, Gary Johnson being one of them, and then 2 Libertarian nominees for statewide educational positions. So even if they did not qualify for the primary in 2018, the Libertarians still would have had ballot access in Michigan in 2018.
Well, yeah, so I mean, there's some good news out there, but the best news is coming out of New Hampshire, where the Libertarian gubernatorial candidate, Max Abramson, who you've heard call the show a few times in the last few months, he actually did better than all of the other Libertarian candidates out there for governor for this year. Yeah. The guy in Indiana who we had talked about previously, who was actually in the debates in Indiana, didn't even crack 4%. He was at like 3.2%. Now, Daryl, you told me apparently he had some kind of heart attack before.
That's not going to help your rankings.
About a week ago. Right. And so that's going to, as I see it, it's going to dissuade some people from voting for that person.
Yeah, but how many people? I mean, was it really going to make a big difference? Honestly, if I was going to vote for somebody, I'd have voted for him. He didn't die. True. Even if he had died, I would have still voted for him. If I were in Indiana, I would have voted for him either way.
And there have been, some major party congressmen that have been literally on their deathbeds and gotten reelected with like 95% of the vote.
There was that dude, was it the 2004 when there was the guy up against John Ashcroft? The dude was dead, and he beat John Ashcroft.
Right, because the party had said, here's the replacement candidate.
Yeah, but how many people know that stuff? Most people don't even know that.
I believe it was also posted in the polling areas.
Well,
here's the
I just thought it was great that people were voting for a dead guy.
Right. But yes,
you had to go
New Hampshire,
ruin my fun there,
Libertarians in New Hampshire regained ballot access for the first time in 20 years.
20 years, yeah. My story over at freekeen.com gets into some of the details there. It was back in 1990 when the Libertarian Party gained ballot access and like the official party status. Because in New Hampshire, when you register for political parties, you can only choose Republican, Democrat, or so-called undeclared.
Yes.
And now, as of the next few weeks, we tried today, and they wouldn't let. We couldn't do it today because they're still waiting for the official results. But we tried to go and register as Libertarian today after we got back from Concord, and we're gonna have to wait a couple weeks. But now you will be able to choose Libertarian as a party registration in New Hampshire,
right?
And the Libertarians get the exact same access to the ballot now for the next term, for 2018. It's only every 2 years. They make a new decision every 2 years based on the results of the gubernatorial or the U.S. Senate election.
Yes, and there is no U.S. Senate seat up in 2018.
Right. So the governor candidate for the Libertarians has to crack 4% again in 2018 in order for it to carry over to 2012. But anyway, in 2018, anyone who wants to run as a Libertarian candidate now doesn't have to go and run as a Democrat or a Republican. They can actually run as a Libertarian, and they don't have to get out there and collect ridiculous ballot signatures or petition signatures, which is one of the most costly, time-consuming, ridiculous processes that anybody has ever put themselves through. And thank goodness now in 2018 we won't have to do that.
And there are several other places where the Libertarians and the Greens picked up qualified status, meaning that, not going to have to jump through ridiculous hoops and hurdles. Although in some places, Massachusetts being one of them, candidates for major parties and minor parties still have to go collect signatures. And that's something that, New Hampshire, the major party candidates don't have to collect any signatures.
Yep.
In New York, they have to collect, but it's a different number based on something.
In New Hampshire, it's $2 if you want to file for state representative. $2.
Yes.
Yeah, I do delegate for the state convention. It's $0.
So Connecticut, both the Green and Libertarians are now qualified for president. And Connecticut does this weird thing to where a party can be qualified for a specific office only. So if you poll 1%, then you're qualified for that office at the next election, but not qualified for every office.
Now, in New Hampshire, you do have to have lived here for 2 years in order to run for state representative.
Yes.
But isn't the 2-year time frame based on when you take office, Daryl, not when you win the election? Like when you actually swear the oath of office?
I think so.
So if you were to move here to New Hampshire, like within the next, how long do they have before they swear in? Early December, I think it is.
Early December, yes.
Yes. If you move to New Hampshire within the next month, you can basically run for state representative in 2 years.
Now, that's not to say that somebody would not challenge your candidacy and say, oh, well, he's not lived here for 2 years when he signed up.
It's unlikely.
It's highly unlikely.
People
Nobody
just don't
would
know what's going on.
Yeah,
here.
they wouldn't know when you moved here anyway. I mean, you never have to really prove it unless someone challenges it.
Right. So let's go back through.
Let's do that in a moment.
Some of this list.
Let's talk to Nathan first, though. In North Carolina, you're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Nathan.
Hey,
Hello.
guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Welcome, sir.
I just wanted to ask Mark, sometime back, he had discussed in detail the blue card immigration proposal, and I was really intrigued, and I was wondering if he could give me a quick breakdown of the core tenets of how that would work.
I'd have to remember it. I put it on the blog, Ian, but I don't know how to search the blog to find it. I've attempted to find it in the past, and I just can't get it. I get all kinds of customer service savings cards and things like that when I look it up. But basically, what the notion was that anybody who wanted to come to the United States could do so, but they would receive no government services whatever. And I include in that any kind of government service from the state, local, federal, whatever it might be. They also don't have the minimum wage law protections to protect them or whatever. They want to come here. They want to make a better life for themselves. All they got to do, walk through, slap down whatever identification somebody's going to want from them, because God knows we'd never get this through without, claiming that they got a fingerprint or something or other. I don't know.
Well, unfortunately, you can't really expect Donald Trump to implement that idea. But if you want to comment, Nathan, you can hang on. We'll bring you back here. 855-450-FREE. More election news coming up. Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
You are what you eat? No, not true. You are what you can absorb, because not absorbing nutrition leads to nutritional deficiency and degenerative diseases. Medication does not fix nutritional deficiencies, and North American soil is now 85% nutritionally depleted. That means your body's not getting the vitamins it needs from just grown foods. Introducing Protovite, the world's first and only full-spectrum protosomal supplement. Protovite is a proprietary liquid system that allows premium quality nutrients to positively affect the blood in an astonishing 5 minutes. That's rapid absorption. Then Protovite liquid continues to release sustained nutrition in the stomach, intestines, and colon over a prolonged period of time. See Protovite in action. Watch our amazing 2-minute live blood cell video today at TrueHealthFacts.com. That's TrueHealthFacts.com. Or call 502-410-34 7411 502 410 3411. Protovite is nutrition you can feel. Protovite is nutrition that gets in.
Do you know the difference between erudite and pedantic? If you do, you're probably pedantic. But seriously, a surprising number of erudite people mispronounce erudite, which has 3 syllables, not 4. Say erudite, not erudite. Because you are judged by how you speak, you want to avoid common misstatements, especially if you're a job seeker. For instance, do you know the difference between imply and infer? Only a speaker can imply, only a listener can infer. And when you say you'll be out of pocket, do you mean out of touch? Out of pocket means you're on your own dime, not yet reimbursed. And if anyone ever asks, why do you always answer a question with a question? You should reply, do I do that? Just kidding. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Tipping. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin tip returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card Bitcoin tip that's easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets and spending, and returns to the tipper if unused. Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It is Free Talk Live. You may dial toll-free and bring up anything you want. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about some of the success stories from last night's election, specifically for libertarians because, well, we're all liberty-minded people here on this program, so how the libertarians did was one of the more chief concerns for us. You're welcome to share your thoughts, though, whatever's on your mind, and you can join us via Skype at Skype, username LRN.FM. And by the way, if you want to help make the Libertarian Party more principled, or maybe you'll want to water it down even more, you can get involved with the Libertarian Party now for free. If you're a Free Talk Live listener, we've secured a free membership for you with the Libertarian Party. This gives you the opportunity to get involved in what is apparently a very fast-growing party. They've added, I believe, around 10,000 members, at least that I saw recently within the last year. And so if you want to get involved, you can do it for free now by going to lp.org/FTL. That's LP, like Libertarian Party, lp.org/FTL for your free Libertarian Party membership. As we go back to Nathan in North Carolina. Nathan, you'd called in to ask Mark about his blue card proposal. It's been like, I don't know, a year or something, several months at least, since we've talked about this. What made you think about it?
Yeah, I think it has been pretty close to a year. I remember listening to the show whenever it first came on, and I was just really impressed by how unique the idea was, and how much sense it made. And I tried to search for it online a couple times, and maybe my Google foo isn't good enough, but I couldn't really find much aside from maybe an indirect link to the podcast download. But when I went to freetalklive.com,
I'll make a blog post of it this time, because what likely happened was this was, I think, the very first blog post that I made on Free Talk Live, and I likely didn't save it properly, and it just disappeared into the ether. And
if you go to freetalklive.com and you hit the little search magnifying glass at the top right and you type in blue space card, you'll find the episode where you first introduced the idea. So you can actually go back and listen to a much longer, lengthier, more in-depth discussion about that, because I think we talked about that on a Saturday night, if I'm recalling correctly, and it basically took up the entire show,
as things do on Saturday nights.
But in summary, basically the idea was that somebody, as I recall it, was that someone who wanted to come to the United States could get this blue card. In return for not being willing to take any kind of welfare, they would get the ability to come here, live here, and work here. That was essentially the idea.
Right. So not only on Free Talk Live do we advocate for the ideas of liberty, because this blue card is not an idea of liberty. This is an idea to hopefully make to increase liberty and make some people's lives better in market ways. So there's not just I try not to just come up with, burn it all down, because that's a pretty easy answer. I also try to come up with ideas that are palatable to the largest group of people, because, frankly, populist ideas have more legs than, principled libertarian ideas. I certainly try to make the principled libertarian ideas go as far as I can, but you got to bow to populism to some extent or another. People's complaints about immigrants tend to be, they're taking our jobs. They tend to be, they're coming here and, not working and taking welfare.
Right. So it's Schrodinger's immigrant.
Yes. And it's funny. Go ahead and explain Schrodinger's immigrant, because people aren't going to get that joke.
Right. So that's a reference to Schrodinger's cat, where there's a cat inside of a box that's both dead and alive at the same time, and you don't know until you open the box.
Right.
But if you open the box, then you definitely kill the cat.
I don't understand, but I didn't know the part about killing the cat. Anyway, so the idea was to figure out what it was that concerned people about immigrants, and we've heard all kinds of concerns here on Free Talk Live throughout the years. One of them, my favorite, is that if they come into our neighborhood, they'll eat our cats and dogs when we're not looking.
There was
I don't have a proposal for that other than take meds.
That there was a movie, 9500 Liberty, about this town in Virginia that wound up passing this really ridiculous immigration law. But one of the arguments that was made during the discussion was, these people have chickens in their yard and they play mariachi music.
There's white people with chickens in their yard, too.
Yes, and I'm glad there are, because then I get cheap eggs.
And I like mariachi music.
Right. Well, I don't care one way or the other
and
about
Latina women are, generally fairly attractive.
See,
none of these things matter to me. These are all about whether
you don't like attractive women that grow their own food.
There's probably the percentage of their population that's attractive is probably exactly the same as the percentage of our population that's attractive. So you're just talking about adding people.
Hey, Nathan, any other thoughts you want to share? Go ahead.
What I'd like to do is go back and listen to the show and take notes, and I'd love to do a write-up or make some kind of easily distributable flyer or Facebook post about it and share, and of course credit Mark. I just thought it was a terrific idea. And
cool.
Credit Free Talk Live.
Didn't get more attention.
You could totally do that. Thanks, Nathan. I appreciate your call tonight. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Feel free to borrow any of our ideas, and
if you do,
whatever you want to do.
Let us know about it so we can promote it on Facebook. I mean, it's not like we don't have almost 100,000 likes on Facebook, plus a nationally syndicated radio program. The fact is we don't have the kind of time or the kind of energy to do all of this stuff.
I've got like 4 blog posts I want to do in one day. And
You're the marketing department of Free Talk Live, because we can't afford to hire one. Daryl, Ian, and I work 60 hours a day, every day, probably 7 days a week, but at least 5 days a week, plus another, 8 or 10 hours over the weekend.
I've not had a day off in, I honestly don't know how long.
Right. Well, that's because we're doing
you just had a whole month off from Free Talk Live.
Yeah,
doing this show at night.
Right. He was sitting in the other room doing his Liberty Lobby stuff. I mean, the whole thing. And we are passionate about the ideas of liberty. And so therefore this isn't too hard, but but we just don't have any more time to allocate to more things.
Right.
So if you can do things to make, our ideas.
Plus, I've got a state party need a chair now.
Yep, that's true. Hey, take the ball, run with it, take the ideas, publish them, do whatever you want, modify them, have fun with it. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Paul is in Arizona, the one state, apparently, according to Daryl, where marijuana reform did not pass. There were multiple states where there was
that's actually according to Reason, and I just relayed that number to you.
Right, well, whatever. The fact is, Arizona did not work out for marijuana legalization, apparently, this time around. Go ahead, Paul. You're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, first off, I'd like to thank you guys for doing your 25 hours a day.
No problem.
But it just, I have a theory about that. But I want to say something that, a misinformed or uninformed voter is worse than a non-voter, because last year, at 51 years old, I registered to vote in California. And I believe it was Proposition 205. It's about 8 pages in the book, and it's really small print, and I didn't read it real close. And a no was a yes, and a yes was a no. And it was about the marijuana. You know what I mean? And so I was really upset about this, because I know people that were doing medical crops out there in California, and they were trying to renegotiate this thing, and they were trying to
hold
take this
that
away
thought,
from
Paul. We can continue here. Plus, big news out of Arizona: Joe Arpaio didn't get reelected.
Want to build a maintenance-free, low and slow charcoal briquette fire that burns for hours for free? MeatMastersRadio.com will show you how to build a low-temp charcoal fire that's guaranteed fiddle-proof. It's easy and free. MeatMastersRadio.com teaches charcoal barbecue skills on new topics every week. Go to MeatMastersRadio.com. That's MeatMastersRadio.com.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
Homeland Security teaching the Boy Scouts of America do black ops missions and destroy
Hold on a second.
veterans returning.
Did you just say that they are training the Boy Scouts to do black op missions?
Of course they are. There's funding from the Department of Homeland Security. There's grants and
Wait, what kind of black ops are we talking about here? Just like spying on the neighbors, seeing if they're putting their recycling in the wrong bin, or what?
It goes deeper than that. To teach the 12 and 13, 14-year-olds how to do paintball stuff, and the target is supposedly disgruntled veterans.
What?
They're preparing them to take on returning veterans that have been labeled disgruntled. That's part of the
They're
indoctrination.
preparing the Boy Scouts to take them on, like what, in a firefight? To hand-to-hand combat?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern. Live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io. The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you may join us here toll free. We're doing the election post-mortem and more to talk about on the way, including some of the ballot measures out there. Daryl, you've been looking at some of those, and one of them in New Mexico is particularly egregious. We'll get into that here in a few moments. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And Daryl.
Hey, how'd you like to try out the best pillow you'll ever use, risk-free, for 60 days? Or darn close to risk-free. You still will have to pay for the shipping to send it back if for some reason you didn't like it, but you get your money back.
It's pretty risk-free, though.
Yeah. MyPillow.com, code FTL, gets you one pillow for half off or two for the price of one. Unlike a regular pillow, you can wash MyPillow in your washing machine. You can throw it in the dryer after that. It's designed to be washed, and it's also designed to fit to the shape of your body and hold your neck in the proper position. And that is to say parallel with your mattress. I've been using it for the past several months, as has Mark and Daryl, and it is the best pillow I've used. If it weren't, I'd have switched back to my other one. So you can go to mypillow.com/FTL, use code FTL to get the, not slash, take that back, mypillow.com, use code FTL. And the pillow, by the way, has a 10-year warranty on it and a 60-day money-back guarantee. So they stand behind their product. They mean what they say when they think that you're going to believe this is the best pillow you've ever had. MyPillow.com with code FTL. Let's go back to Paul in Arizona. He's talking about how somebody who is not really paying close attention to their vote is the worst kind of voter. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, well, first off, Uncle Joe needs one of those pillows because he didn't make it. Uncle Joe Arpaio.
Oh, yeah, Joe Arpaio. He did not get reelected after 20-something years.
And he blames Obama.
You know what? And the new sheriff down there, I'm up in Mojave County, so that's south of me. But his name is Paul. I can remember that name. And anyway, they asked him this morning on the Phoenix News. They said, "Well, you get rid of Tent City and those pink panties you're making them wear?" He goes, "Well, I'm not sure yet." So,
things don't sound like they're going to change.
And I heard the peso plunged. So you look that one up. The actual words out of the guy's mouth was, "The peso has plunged."
So what happened in Arizona besides the marijuana thing not passing? Was there anything else that you wanted to share with us?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, but I did this last year, and I'll let everybody in California slap me once because I didn't read the ballot right. And it was a yes, and yes was a no. I think it was Proposition 205. Mm-hmm. They were trying to renegotiate the medical marijuana thing to where these people couldn't grow it, even with the script, if they had a neighbor within like 5 miles. And so I thought that after we already voted on it, and they were trying to renegotiate this, I thought, no. So I went and voted. And I voted backwards, and also in that proposition, about 8 pages thick, small print, I freed the chickens.
You freed them?
I freed the chicken because the farmer has to give them twice the amount of space, which means he only has half as many. And counting I got screwed factor, eggs over doubled in California. So
the price of eggs doubled after that passed. Makes sense.
A little over.
Paul, thanks for your call tonight, man. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE.
Now, one thing that surprised me that did not pass in California is repeal of the death penalty.
How did it do?
I think I no longer have the number in front of me, but it was not close, assuming that it needed a supermajority.
People are bloodthirsty, man, even out in California, apparently.
Well, I mean, just because it tends to be a lefty issue doesn't mean that Democrats necessarily are going to go for it. Yeah. Many Democrats are Democrats because they feel like the Republicans hate them, and they're not too far. It's not too far from the truth if they look a little, if you scratch a little underneath the surface. So there's, if you look at ethnic groups, many ethnic groups are very socially conservative, and socially conservative people tend to favor the death penalty. Now, it takes a little bit of education to show that the death penalty is both fiscally irresponsible and socially irresponsible, but nonetheless, if you ask people, do you think bad people that kill people should be killed? Many people are going to say, yeah.
So it got 53%, but that was not a high enough percentage to pass.
What was needed? 60?
I believe 60.
Let's go to Sarah. She's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Well, this is a very interesting show, but I just want to say, here in New Mexico, you know that Hillary Clinton, we carried her here. We won the state. But like I said, we don't really count as far as the 5 electoral votes because, Donald Trump, he got Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and then he won. So basically what I was saying is...
Well, he got a lot more than a few states. He got quite a few of them. And it was interesting, New Mexico, the home of Gary Johnson, he didn't even crack double digits. He did 9%, which was, I think, the best showing of all of the
Yes, and there
states.
were some counties in New Mexico where he did get 10%.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't look that closely at it, but just kind of looking overall at what Johnson did state to state, you'd think he'd have done a little bit
better. Right, but that's still, he did better in New Mexico this year than he did 4 years ago.
How much better?
I think he only got 3.5%.
So about 3 times.
Ago.
About 3 times better.
Right.
Just kind of consistent with what he got nationwide, which was about 3 times better than 2012. Sarah, are you bummed out today? Have you been crying? Have you been triggered?
No, I'm just really completely shocked. But I'm actually,
I was shocked too.
I'm very actually. I just want to say this was a very important election for New Mexico because we matter in the fact that we sent. Michelle Lujan Grisham, we sent 2 Congress people up there. That's Democrat. We have one, Steve Pierce, he's a Republican.
So you're not giving up, huh? You're not going to call it quits? You're not going to move down to Mexico or up to Canada or something like that? Because there's a lot of people who said if Donald Trump wins that they're going to be leaving the United States. You're doubling down. You're sticking it out, huh?
Well, I'm not going anywhere. And also, up in Santa Fe, within our state, we got the Democratic, the representatives back, like we had for 60 years. So the Republicans took majority, but we got it back in this election. There's 70 House of Representatives within our state, so we got it back.
Well, we got nothing. Yeah, a bunch of slimy politicians went to Washington, D.C.
Well, she considers herself a slimy politician, a part of their team. She's on their team.
I want to know, Sarah, do you think that your Obama phone's going to get Trump snatched?
Well, you know what? I really don't know what the outcome is. But I know you guys got a Democratic governor, and you have picked up another Democratic congressperson.
You're mistaken. The governor's was the new governor that recently been elected is a Republican replacing a Democrat.
New Hampshire has had a Democratic governor for the last decade.
New Hampshire is what they call a purple state.
Yeah.
Meaning that some of the top ticket things go Republican, some go Democrat, and you can't say one way or the other of, oh, it's a Republican dominated or it's a Democrat, because it looks like Hillary is going to wind up getting the 4 electoral votes in New Hampshire.
Barely.
While a Republican wound up getting elected governor in the same election.
Right. And that's one of the things thanks for the call, Sarah. And that's one of the things that I think is special about New Hampshire is that it seems like the people here purposefully will vote split tickets like that,
yes,
to where they're more likely to be less partisan in New Hampshire.
I always make it make an effort to vote Democrat, Republican, and Independent on any ballot that I have. I just want to be able to have sort of a smattering in a general election just to say I did it.
Well, anyway, let's continue here. Daryl, I think you had a little bit more you wanted to share, some ballot initiatives or whatever you got in front of you.
Yeah, so in New Mexico, surprisingly, and this was a huge margin, 87% of voters in New Mexico voted for what was titled Amendment 1 that would authorize judges to waive bail for a person charged with a felony. So you're charged with the felony, Ian. You cannot give us any amount of money to wind up leaving court or leaving jail before your court hearing.
So they don't have to waive bail. They're authorized to do so.
Correct.
Still, that's 80-something percent.
87%.
It's incredible. We'll continue. Terrible news.
Yeah. Plus, there's more ballot access news and good news for libertarians.
Yeah, and I've still got some really great news out of New Hampshire for libertarians here as well. It's Free Talk Live.
People who can afford a LASIK procedure sure are lucky. Imagine being able to throw away your contacts and glasses. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. Too bad everyone can't afford LASIK. Well, guess what? There's a company that agrees with you. TLC Laser Eye Centers is now offering great prices on high-quality LASIK to make it affordable for everyone. That means you get the latest FDA-approved all-laser LASIK technology for less than what others charge. And if you call right now, we'll schedule a free appointment so you can discover if LASIK is right for you. Results may vary. Call 1-800-929-5733. Even better, if you're one of the first 100 callers, ask about an extra $400 off your all-laser LASIK procedure. That's $200 off per eye. We've already performed over 2 million procedures. Let us help you. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you deserve for less than what others charge. For your free appointment, call 1-800-929-5733. 1-800-929-5733.
Are you feeling embarrassed or stuck because you can't focus or concentrate? I have a confession to make. I spent years unable to think clearly, like I was in a fog. I was going through the motions, running my companies, and I hated feeling mentally sluggish. I couldn't get ahead like this. It's no secret. The powers that be want us dumbed down. Chemicals, fluoride. Our brains are under siege, and we are experiencing lower IQs. But now there is a weapon to fight back and win. Introducing DNA Evolve. A revolutionary breakthrough in a category of cognitive enhancers called nootropics. I've been using DNA Evolve and couldn't feel better. For me, it works. It feels great to get things done again and get ahead. Try a free sample for yourself at DNAEvolvesample.com. That's DNAEvolvesample.com. Supplies are limited, so go to DNAEvolvesample.com right now.
Would odors, mold, and mildew describe your basement or crawl space? It doesn't have to be that way. Transform them into a fresh, healthy, usable one with the technologically advanced Wave Moisture Control Units. The computerized operation maximizes moisture control and also expels harmful radon, combustion gases, and numerous other pollutants. Dehumidifiers are old technology that do nothing for air quality and waste energy. Wave units are intelligent, self-monitoring, do not need maintenance, and will save you hundreds in electricity. Wave units are still running effectively over 15 years. They've been tested and installed in public and military housing and by property managers nationwide. Buy a unit now, and if your home is not fresher and drier, you can return it for a full refund for up to 12 months. What have you got to lose? Call now. 1-888-618-WAVE. 1-888-618-WAVE. Or visit mydryhome.com. That's mydryhome.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live shows 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
There's no better app for tracking the value of cryptocurrencies than CoinCap. I've had a lot of apps for tracking Bitcoin, but none that's ever been able to track 500 digital assets at once. Their best feature is the Altfolio. I love this thing. You enter how many Bitcoins, Ether, Dash, Doge, or whatever else you have, and it tells you how much your crypto is worth. You can watch yourself get rich. If you have crypto, go right now to coincap.io, or you can use the Apple Store or Google Play to get the app. I love CoinCap. coincap.io.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. The 2016 election post-mortem. We are going through the good. We're going through the bad. There was a lot of bad. I mean, most of the politicians running are terrible human beings.
You take the good, you take the bad.
You take them both. And there you have
the facts of life.
That's right.
And we had a lot of good news here in New Hampshire. Even though Libertarian candidate for governor Max Abramson did not win, he did cross the threshold required to give the Libertarian Party official status here in New Hampshire as a real party, which means that we get to get on the ballot just as easily as the Republicans and Democrats.
Right.
It's
Now,
the first time in 20 years that's happened.
The thing that I am not happy about is that this means that the Libertarians will have a primary in 2 years. And there are some people, well, don't you want a primary? No, because then that allows anybody, whether they're actually a libertarian or not, to wind up being foisted upon the Libertarian Party as a nominee.
Now, you have a plan about that. Do you want to reveal that plan or no?
You are the state party chairman.
That's correct.
I think that those that don't know that ought to be informed.
Right. So I'm comfortable talking about it because there are a lot of states where a qualified party is allowed to nominate by convention under certain conditions.
Okay.
So some states will have what they call minor party status, and then there's major party status. New Hampshire just has political party.
Yep.
So if you get 4% for governor or U.S. Senate, you're a political party. If you don't, doesn't matter. You could call yourself party,
right?
But you are a political organization under the law.
Got it.
And therefore, you have to petition.
So like the New Hampshire Liberty Party that you and I formed back in 2012.
Yes, is a political organization.
If we were to get 4%, then we would become a political party.
And then subject to having a primary where anybody could wind up, filing and, foisting themselves upon you.
Like they can in the major parties, where anybody can register as a Democrat, like Ian did, and run for governor, like Ian did, and have a platform that's really not similar at all to anybody who's in that party, like Ian did.
That's right.
So why is it that you think that the Libertarian Party should be spared that?
Well,
because of costs.
Right.
Well, I think that I don't think that any taxpayer should bear any of the costs for any of the primaries, but the fact is they do.
Right. So there is the cost savings, but also
what cost savings besides a little bit
printing
of toner?
ballots? Yeah.
Yeah, but the ballots are getting printed already.
Not
right?
for the Libertarians.
They're currently printing ballots for Republicans and Democrats.
I see.
In 2 years, they're going to have to print a primary ballot for Libertarians, which is going to increase the cost of the primary election by 33%.
And the nice thing about New Hampshire,
they have to have as many ballots for the Libertarians as they do for the Republicans. and
Because
Democrats?
undeclared voters can grab
the Libertarian ballot.
I see.
So what your proposal is going to be, you're going to try to find some state reps to bring this up.
So again, let me finish with the concept. So there are some states to where they have one vote threshold for getting ballot status and then another threshold for becoming a major party. And only major parties, and we talked about this with Michigan, to where the Libertarian Party has been ballot qualified in Michigan for a while, but they this year qualified to get that primary in 2 years. So there's one example of
we
a
don't
state.
want that.
Right. I'm saying there's one example of a state that's just one example of a party having ballot access that does not have that taxpayer-funded primary until meeting a higher threshold.
Which they did.
Right. So what I'm going to try doing is getting a state rep to say that any party that polls less than, say, 15% for governor is allowed to nominate by convention.
Why shouldn't any party, period, be allowed to nominate by convention?
I think they should be, but that's not going to pass.
Okay. That doesn't mean you couldn't put it forward, right? Like, okay, well,
you anti-liberty person, you don't want this to be fair for all the parties.
Again, I think that I agree with you. There should not be taxpayer-funded primaries,
Right, 'cause
but I
you're not
know
gonna-
that bill's not going to pass.
But you're well.
So,
no, wait a minute.
Here's the thing.
Why
Here's
not?
the thing.
Why not? People in New Hampshire love being frugal. I mean, one of the nice things
Right.
about the New Hampshire
but
government
they also love the Secretary of State loves being able to promote. We've got the first in the nation primary,
right.
And if you get rid of that, then
now maybe the primary rule could only apply to state primaries rather than the national.
the presidential primary is a statewide primary.
No. But there's no state government offices on the presidential primary ballot. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
So your rule could only apply to state primaries rather than the presidential primary. And then you could eliminate state primaries and have them all done privately within the parties. That would make everybody happy.
I think that's definitely worth a discussion.
Yeah.
I just, based on what I know of the legislatures or the legislators, I don't think it would pass if you say, let any party opt out.
Yeah, well, maybe it would be interesting to see the response, and then you could back down to that and say, all right, well, what if you did 15% or whatever? But because the reason I bring that up is because New Hampshire is notoriously frugal, notoriously kind of flinty when it comes to
and
savings
the
on bills.
argument that has always been brought up whenever there's been a let's make it a little bit easier for somebody not a Republican or a Democrat to get on the ballot is, well, then if we drop this down from 4% to 2%, then we'll have 20 qualified parties and we'll have to pay for primaries for all of them.
The ballot will be
and
a
the
mile
ballot
long.
will be 10 feet long because it's sideways and we got the party
So
column.
money is always an objection to new proposed legislation.
Yes.
And every piece of legislation has to go through some sort of Office of Cost Control. I forget what they're called, but they basically look at each proposed piece of legislation and they say, well, this piece of legislation would increase our costs by this amount if it were to pass, or it would decrease by this amount if it were to pass. And so that fiscal note is attached to every single piece of legislation to give the senators and the representatives some idea of what these things would cost. And even small increases can frequently be opposed here in New Hampshire, which is one of the reasons why the government stays small here. So if you sort of frame this as, hey, this is a cost savings for everyone, and the political parties don't have to worry about Ian Freeman running for the Democrats anymore.
Right. And one thing that I'm going to have to do some research on is look at all of the different statutes in the different states to see which ones have these various thresholds, and then come up with sort of here's the average sort of tier of X becomes minor party, get their candidates on the general election, and Y is where they get a primary. Now, there are some states, Arizona being one of them, to where the party can request not to have a presidential primary, but they cannot request to not have a regular primary for all other offices.
And some of this work that you're doing as libertylobby.xyz, which is your new lobbying firm here in New Hampshire. How are your fundraiser
right
efforts
now,
going?
I'm at 63% of the monthly goal. So the yearly goal is $5,000. Divide that by 12. Monthly goal of about $416.
So
I'm
$100
currently at about 63% of that.
Wow.
Once I add in the one-time donations that have come in, I'm looking at about 70% of the annual goal.
So if you average it out over the 12 months.
Yes.
So go to help Daryl out. If you really want to see a liberty-oriented lobbyist out there talking about freedom in front of the state legislature, it's not happening anywhere else but here in New Hampshire, and you can get behind him by going to libertylobby.xyz, contribute via, PayPal, Bitcoin?
PayPal, Bitcoin, Dash.
I did.
Yeah, it's great. And you've hit the Founders Committee. Is that closed now?
Founders Committee closed at the end of October.
Okay. By the way, in New Hampshire, Max Abramson, the gubernatorial candidate, scored 4.3%, which was more than the other libertarian gubernatorial candidates across the United States in the 2016 election. That alone was pretty good news, but it's also important to note Max did that, which qualified the Libertarian Party for that ballot access we were talking about. Max did that after being excluded from the debates.
Yes,
true.
And after making headlines within the last year or so for being a felon for defending his property with a gun and in the seacoast of New Hampshire.
Right, and that incident happened about 6 years ago.
Right. But
Right.
it came back up when he got elected state rep.
Right. It gets very interesting suddenly when those things occur. This is one of the reasons that I eschew the idea of running for major office.
And
even though I think I'm.
But he did it, and he did better than any of the other Libertarian candidates for governor this year. And he's the second highest Libertarian vote getter in the state's history in New Hampshire. No, not the second highest?
I was looking at the results earlier today. There were, I think, 2 or 3 others that got over 4.3%. So Miriam Luce in 1990 got 4.88%.
Is that for governor?
For governor.
Okay.
Somebody a couple years later got 4.5. There was a Senate candidate that I think got 4.5.
Well, then he's the highest in the last 20 years. How about that?
Yes.
Yeah. Toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. That's good news, but there's even better news around the so-called Free Staters who ran as well. Coming up.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Well, tipping might be a great way. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card-sized Bitcoin tip that is easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets, spending, and returns to the user if unused? Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
You've said it yourself. We need a healthcare system that focuses on health, not sickness. Health insurance pays for treating sickness but gives you nothing for being healthy. There's a free market healthcare company that gives you freedom from health insurance. They give you a proactive health assessment daily, no charge 24-hour access to doctors. Check them out right now at healthexcellenceselect.com. Any kind of doctor, traditional, integrative, chiropractic, acupuncture, and massage. You'll love the service and price. healthexcellenceselect.com. healthexcellenceselect.com.
On the second Saturday of every month, the Texas Republic Congress meets in a joint session. To learn how you can attend or become a member of Congress, visit thetexasrepublic.com. And together, we can liberate Texas.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darrell W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, November 9th, 2016. Silver is trading at $18.66 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,317 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 3.7 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $735. Antiwar.com reports a series of airstrikes and artillery attacks against the various targets in the Nusra Front-controlled northwestern Syrian province of Idlib have left at least 20 people killed, 10 of them civilians, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The largest attack, according to the observatory, was in Khan Shaykhun, where 7 children and 2 pregnant women were killed. The observatory said their initial information was that the strikes were carried out by Russian forces. Russia's defense ministry, however, denied any involvement, saying that no Russian airplanes had been operating in the area and complaining that the observatory was engaged in information provocations against them. Though it's often unclear who is responsible for such strikes, Russia has carried out multiple attacks against Idlib in the recent weeks. While Russia does not always provide absolute clarity on their operations, it is unusual for them to offer such a pointed denial. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. UPI reports Republicans will maintain at least a foothold in the federal government by retaining their majority in the U.S. House of Representatives, though control of the Senate is still too early to call. It's unclear what the GOP majority will be in the House, but NBC News was the first to report that they will at least remain in the majority, and it is likely Speaker Paul Ryan will remain in the leadership role to begin 2017. In the battle for the Senate, 3 of the 9 races most likely to decide control have been called, 2 for Republicans and 1 a pickup for the Democrats, the first of 5 they will need to win an outright majority. GOP Senator Marco Rubio won re-election to his seat in Florida, a race he entered late, only after his presidential campaign faltered. And Tammy Duckworth, the Democratic Illinois Congresswoman, defeated incumbent GOP Senator Mark Kirk in a race that was widely predicted would have handed Democrats one of the seats they were looking for. The 9 races where a seat is open or most likely to change hands were in New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Illinois, Wisconsin, Missouri, Nevada, Florida, and Indiana. Coming into Tuesday, the House seemed a much safer bet for Republicans, and the election night tallies proved true. The GOP held an enormous 59-seat advantage coming into Tuesday. The nonpartisan Cook Political Report listed 18 seats as pure toss-ups, not enough to flip control of the chamber to Democrats even if they ran the table in all of them. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Energy Transfer Partners LP on Tuesday said it was not slowing down construction of an oil pipeline in North Dakota that is contested by environmentalist and Native American groups. The owners of the Dakota Access Pipeline on Tuesday said it was moving equipment to prepare for tunneling under Lake Oahe, the water source that has been a focus of protest even as federal regulators have not given a go-ahead signal that the line will be able to proceed. Army Corps spokesman Thomas O'Hara told Bloomberg News on Monday that the company had agreed to slow down construction, a statement Energy Transfer refuted. Energy Transfer Partners LP said in a statement on Tuesday the statement released last night by the Army Corps was a mistake and the Army Corps intends to rescind it. To be clear, Dakota Access Pipeline has not voluntarily agreed to halt construction of the pipeline in North Dakota. Construction on part of the $3.7 billion Dakota Access Pipeline was halted in September following protests by the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and others who said the line would desecrate sacred grounds and a spill could contaminate drinking water. President Barack Obama last week said the U.S. government was looking at ways to reroute the pipeline. The continued construction comes amid mounting pressure from activists on banks financing the pipeline to pull their support. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Federal authorities are currently on high alert in Washington, D.C., following reports that hundreds of crazed sociopaths infiltrated the congressional chambers this morning. Mary Canley, a Capitol employee who managed to escape the House chambers, described the troubling scene to reporters.
I saw all of them. About 400 to 500 completely deranged people just rambling on about guns, the military, and money.
Investigators say the lunatics, many of whom are believed to suffer from severe personality disorders, have locked themselves in the chambers for hours now, with no clear purpose or reasoning.
I looked at one of them right in the eyes, and it was like he was empty on the inside, devoid of any emotion or feeling. It was horrifying. It's only a matter of time before they do something that really hurts someone.
We believe these men to be manipulative and extremely dangerous. Luckily, they are also very disorganized, and there is a chance they may never be able to ever take any action at all. For more on this developing story, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour of the program. You can dial in toll-free here, bring up anything you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. Our Skype username is LRN.FM. It is the 2016 election post-mortem here on Free Talk Live. We've been talking all kinds of things about the election, not just, obviously Trump, but also what happened here in New Hampshire. What did the Libertarians do here in New Hampshire? What kind of successes did we have compared to the rest of the country? Some of the ballot measures, both good news about like marijuana, several states legalizing marijuana, Nevada, California, Maine, Massachusetts. The only one that didn't apparently was Arizona. And then I guess every state in which medical was on the the decision-making ballot, it all passed.
Right.
So
that's
good.
included
Florida.
with the 9 states that voted on cannabis.
Correct.
That includes both, the tax and regulate recreational use and the authorize therapeutic.
Yep, I believe there were 5 voting to legalize, and then 4 doing medical.
Yes. So Arkansas, Florida, Montana, and North Dakota were either going to approve or expand medical.
Mm-hmm.
California, Maine, Massachusetts, and Nevada are going to tax and regulate recreational.
We talked about some of the bad ones as well, and if you've got one that was worth sharing, you want to talk about one of the ballot measures in your state, feel free to call us up. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to the phones, to the fun. It's Ian, Mark, and Daryl in the studio tonight. Daryl's first night back in several weeks, actually. He's been working on libertylobby.xyz. Trey is on the line in Louisiana on the amp lines. Go ahead, Trey.
Yes, sir. I was just wanting to comment on the election. Today I found out on Twitter that it was my fault that Hillary lost because I voted for Gary Johnson.
Yeah. I found that out too. It turns out it's hilarious that the Democrats are blaming libertarians for the Hillary's loss when
I'm surprised they wouldn't be blaming Jill Stein.
They're blaming
Stein,
her too.
Yeah, but Jill Stein didn't have enough votes, so they have to vote. They have to blame everybody who voted third party, as though everybody who voted third party, especially libertarians, would vote Democrat. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Remember in 2000, it was Ralph Nader that got all the blame, even though if Al Gore would have been able to win his home state of Tennessee, nobody would have cared about Florida because Florida would not have been the deciding state. But everybody that was on the ballot in Florida wound up getting more than that 537 vote difference between Gore and Bush, but it was only Ralph Nader that got blamed.
Yeah.
Well, I find it refreshing that libertarians are being blamed for this because the fact is libertarians come from all political walks. They come from Democrats, they come from Republicans, they come from non-party affiliated folks, they come from non-voters, they come from voters who are frustrated and who haven't voted in 20 years.
And the biggest myth is that libertarians pull votes from Republicans.
That's a huge myth.
Solely.
Which is why this one's a little bit refreshing. So the idea that libertarians are more or less likely to have been Democrats or to would have voted Democrats is just not the case. Libertarians come from all over the political spectrum. But go ahead, Trey.
Yes, it just amazed me that a bunch of my so-called friends on Twitter, blame me for that.
Well, time to pack up and move to New Hampshire then, where you'll actually have more friends who are actual, people who understand the ideas of liberty. And it's one of the things Melanie was talking about when we shared her article from freekeen.com and her one-year retrospective up here, was that she's got so many friends who are anarchists and voluntarists and libertarians now that she can actually choose her friends, whereas before she'd only met 2 in her entire lifetime.
And if you move up before December, you can run for state rep in 2 years. Or if you move up at any point prior to candidate filing in 2018, you could run for a county office.
That's true.
Interestingly, the Free Province Project made a post that they haven't made in a long time.
What is the Free Province Project?
There
Sounds
you go.
like Canada to me.
That's the Canadian Free State Project. They propose that everybody moves to PEI, Prince Edward Island.
Okay.
And it is a very small population. I can't remember what it is there, but it is remarkably small. Makes New Hampshire look metropolitan in comparative. But they said, come on, let's move to PEI and
Great.
make freedom happen.
146,000 people.
Yeah.
If they can move to PEI and secede, then I'll seriously consider it, because otherwise I can't move to Canada. They'll arrest me.
I'm sure you could get into Canada if you wanted to. If you asked nice.
No, not for the next decade. I've got 9 more years to go before I can even apply.
Is that so?
To be allowed into Canada. Okay. Trey, thanks for your call tonight, man. I appreciate it.
Unless you somehow get everything that's currently on your record in the U.S. expunged and annulled.
Which would cost money anyway. So you either pay to annul it here in the U.S. or you pay in 9 years, you pay Canada $250 or whatever. Because it's like $250 for a misdemeanor and $1,000 for a felony.
I blame Canada.
Yeah. And I suppose if you give them enough money and you don't have any recent arrests, then they'll likely let you in. Because it's really all about the money, isn't it?
So I'm looking over some of the ways in which the various tax and regulate schemes for cannabis are going to work. Specifically, the 2 neighboring states closest to New Hampshire, which would be Maine and Massachusetts.
I heard about Mass today where they're only going to tax at 5%.
Right. So Reason says that the question 4, which is what it was called, would eliminate state penalties for adults over 21 who possess up to an ounce. Currently, it's a civil offense punishable by a $100 fine. You're also allowed to share up to an ounce with another adult. It allows private possession of up to 10 ounces.
Nice.
Plus whatever is produced by up to 6 plants per person and 12 plants per household.
Wow, that's
Those
great.
provisions take effect December 15th.
This year?
Those provisions of depenalizing up to an ounce. Or private possession of up to 10 ounces or up to 12 plants per household, assuming that there's 2 adults.
Oh, my God.
Creates a cannabis control commission that will be charged with licensing and regulating growers, testing facilities, edible manufacturers, and retailers.
No, wait, those are commercial growers, right? So the average green thumb at their own home isn't going to be regulated in that way.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, if you're wanting to sell, you can share up to an ounce with another person, no penalty. The commission is supposed to begin accepting applications for licenses October 1st next year.
Okay.
Preference will be given to medical dispensaries.
Wow.
And
that's huge.
They're expecting to open them January 2018.
Does it mention the taxes? Because I heard it was a 2-tier tax.
3.75% state tax.
Yep.
In addition to a standard sales tax of 6.25%.
Okay, so a little more than what I heard on the radio today.
There's going to be, here's the cannabis tax plus the sales tax.
Okay.
And then municipalities can add up to 2%.
Okay, so what the discussion was on the radio was that it was only going to be 5%, but it sounds like it's a little less than that for the cannabis tax, but then add on the sales tax, and it's more than 5%. So that means that New Hampshire can still get in there if if they actually do something in 2017 in this next legislative session. I'm not going to get my hopes up too much, but if New Hampshire actually legalizes it and taxes it, they could tax it at lower than the Massachusetts rate, or even on par with Massachusetts. And since there's no sales tax,
correct,
people would come here to buy it.
Right. And even if, and let me run
this number again. Let me
run this number again. So 6.25%. plus 3.75 is 10. So even if New Hampshire just put the mills and lodging tax on cannabis,
people aren't going to come across the state line for a percent, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They're not going to do that.
And then you've got the 2% municipal tax on top of that. So you're looking at 3%.
They're not coming for 3%.
Yeah, New Hampshire's going to have to do 5% here, and then you'll save 5%, and then they'll come.
Maine, which is another state that just voted to tax and regulate. Question 1 allows adults up to or over 21 to possess, transport, and share up to 2.5 ounces, grow up to 6 plants, 6 flowering plants, 12 immature plants, and an unlimited number of seedlings.
Nice.
That takes effect 30 days after Paul LePage proclaims the election results. They're going to tax it at 10%.
All right. We're going to continue here in moments. You can share your thoughts. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. It's going to come to New Hampshire. The question is, when?
The following is an incredible, life-changing free offer for anyone with hearing problems who wants to start hearing everything more clearly again. We're now offering free in-home trials of a revolutionary hearing breakthrough called Listen Clear to anyone who calls this special toll-free number now. 1-800-719-2949. Call in the next 10 minutes and you'll also qualify for free shipping and free batteries for life. Listen Clear is precisely designed by top audio engineers. It adjusts to let you find the perfect way to hear everything, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And Listen Clear is so invisible, people may not even know you're wearing it. And it's so lightweight, you may even forget you're wearing it too. Don't miss this special life-changing opportunity to hear everything more clearly again for free with a 100% free in-home trial, free shipping, and even free batteries for life. For free information, call now. 1-800-719-2949. That's 1-800-719-2949. 1-800-719-2949.
Hello?
Congratulations.
For what?
For losing all that weight. How'd you do it so fast?
ASAP.
ASAP what? What's that mean?
Are you ready to get as skinny as possible, as soon as possible, as simple as possible, and as sexy as possible?
I'm listening.
Then get with the ASAP program. It's real and it works. No smooth talk, no slick advertising, and no exaggerated claims of success.
I've got to know more.
Welcome to ASAP, as slim as possible. Whether you have 10, 20, or 50 pounds to lose, ASAP is your weight loss answer. ASAP targets the abnormal fat reserves and makes them available to be burned as fuel and contains no caffeine or hormones. Order ASAP at wholesale prices or join the team to share the business with others. Go to GCNteam.com or call 855-GCN-MALL. That's 855-426-6255. GCNteam.com or 855-426-6255. Lose weight and look great with ASAP, as slim as possible.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Has this election season gotten you excited about the Libertarian Party? Has it gotten you mad? Do you want to see more candidates like Gary Johnson? Or do you want to see hardline libertarians? Either way, you don't have to sit on the sidelines and complain. You can make a difference by getting involved. Free Talk Live has, believe it or not, negotiated a free membership for you in the Libertarian Party at lp.org/FTL. This is a limited time offer, so go sign up for your free membership now at lp.org/FTL.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves. Grab your bongs, because if you are in Massachusetts or Maine, or California or Nevada, I believe also passed legalization. Things are about to get really interesting, where we're going over some of this, the details, the implementation plans for the legalization procedures in Maine and Massachusetts. You basically pointed out Massachusetts is going to tax it at 5% plus
up to 5.75
plus the sales tax on top of that.
Correct.
Maine is doing 10%. Is it sales tax on top of that as well?
It does not say.
Okay.
It just says the initiative imposes a 10% tax on sales.
New Hampshire has a chance to make this happen next year.
I think you're being highly optimistic.
I am. I want to see it happen.
No. Well, I mean, even if they do make it happen, they've already lost the market maker status. New Hampshire,
I mean, they're talking about Massachusetts is going to implement this next month.
Right.
Well,
next month.
Hold on. At
10% tax.
No. What's being implemented in December is the depenalization goes into effect.
Oh,
it's going to be January 2018 before they expect the recreational facilities to actually be operational.
Right, and you can't expect the state to move quickly. However, when states are competing, they are more likely to move faster than otherwise.
In Maine, the Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry will wind up licensing and regulating commercial growers, manufacturers, and retailers. The department is supposed to issue regulations for such businesses within 9 months after the initiative takes effect, and it's supposed to take effect within 30 days after the governor declaring this to be official. It takes 10 days.
Which he'll probably drag his feet on because he was against it.
Right. So 10 days for the votes to be considered official.
Okay.
And then he's got 30 days to say, yep, this is good.
I bet you he'll take all 30.
Probably. So 40 days before the penalties get removed.
Okay.
9 months after that is when the regulations have to wind up being put in place.
Let me ask you this. Aren't the penalties effectively removed now? Because if you get picked up...
It's unlikely the police are going to arrest it.
Well, if they do arrest, you're going to be standing trial
if you don't take a plea
now.
deal, yeah.
Well, I mean, you don't take a plea deal in 40 days. It's hard to even get a plea deal in 40 days. These are government bureaucrats, after all.
Sure.
You can't even say, please, 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 give me an appeal, or a plea deal before it becomes legal. You couldn't even send that letter and get that.
So Maine has had decrim since the 70s, and under current law, as amended in 2009, possession of less than 2.5 ounces is a civil violation with a fine of between $350 to $600, $700 to $1,000 for something over 1.25 ounce.
Yeah. So
medical cannabis passed in '99.
I gotcha. So the fact is that New Hampshire's behind the ball on this.
Yep.
They're never going to catch it up. The slow political process here in New Hampshire has not served in this case. I think generally it does serve because New Hampshire tends to take a long time to make something illegal. The fact that we have, no seatbelt laws really sort of proves that.
Yeah.
But the politicians here they're not lawyers. They're scared, sniveling little geriatrics, and they lost the opportunity. They lost the state a tremendous amount of revenue, and it's just the way it is.
Right, and one of the main differences between New Hampshire and Maine and Massachusetts is that New Hampshire does not have voter initiated referendum and initiative. And one of the activists from Massachusetts who helped get their ballot measure on the ballot will be moving to New Hampshire in the next couple of weeks. And
that's what we need, is we need the libertarians who are willing to leave this issue behind, to leave a place like Massachusetts, Colorado, where they've won this big thing, but otherwise the states are not near as free as New Hampshire. Get here where we can actually work on making this happen.
Well, in a thread on the Facebook group for the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, she said that she wants to take up the initiative of getting this on the ballot. And I said,
you can't do.
You can't do that. And she was like, what do you mean? She was, flabbergasted that, voters cannot put things on the statewide ballot.
But that also means they can't put a bunch of stupid crap on there, too, like in New Mexico, where the 80% of the people voted to make it so that a judge can revoke bail for people arrested for felonies.
But if you do it in a limited manner to where only things can be repealed,
So let's repeal section blah, blah, blah of the RSA.
Well, you'd have to do a constitutional amendment to do that.
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
Daryl, the wishing that the Constitution was different thing is a long and storied waste of time in libertarian circles. I mean, I wish that...
Right, but there are some states, Mark, to where they call it referendum.
But you're not going to get it, man.
They call it
never
referendum.
Never going to get it, never going to get it, never going to get it, never going to get it.
Voters
I don't care.
Can file a petition. I'm explaining to you and everybody listening what referendum is.
I understand, but you're not going to get it.
Let's work towards it.
Why?
Or are you one of these people that says, nope, somebody tried it that one time and it failed, so never try it again?
Yeah.
Okay,
never
well,
say never, Mark.
Write that up for the state
You
constitution.
asked out the cute girl that one time. She said no, so never ask a girl out again.
Daryl, does it have to be a constitutional amendment, though?
Yes.
In New Hampshire, to add referendums to the list of options.
To add referendums
that would
saying
only
that somebody could
only
repeal something that was passed within the, say, previous 2 years. I don't know if it would require a constitutional amendment.
That's worth looking into.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's worth looking into. So a lot of very exciting stuff going on here.
Because a lot of states that have initiative and referendum, it's done just as statute. It's not a constitutional amendment.
Okay, see, that's what I was wondering.
So there are various ways.
If it doesn't need to be if the Constitution doesn't need to be amended, Mark, this is much easier to accomplish.
So there are various ways that initiative and referendum can be put in place. So there are some places to where voters can put forth, let's amend the Constitution to do X.
That's what Florida does.
There are other places to where you can only have new statutes. There are some places where you can only repeal statutes. So there are various ways to put this in, and to say that it requires a constitutional amendment is an oversimplification because there are a lot of different ways it can be implemented.
All right, cool.
What? Like what? You can pass a law?
That's what he's talking about. Yeah.
No, I'm asking. There's a lot of different ways. Doesn't mean one way. And I'm just trying to figure out one way. You can pass a law that says that referendums are acceptable in the state of New Hampshire?
That's how it's been implemented in a bunch of states. There's just been a statute instituted of here's another way to wind up passing something or to repeal a law.
Well, look. This is probably even if somebody puts this forward this year, it's probably not going to happen this year. It takes time. You got to keep reintroducing things,
right?
And
because
that's why
I don't think referendum has ever been introduced in New Hampshire.
That's a good question. That's why we need to get more liberty activists here who can run for office and win, which is the other good news. And I want to cover this coming up next, which is the tremendous number of wins that the liberty-minded folks have had this year.
And we need people to talk to legislators because the biggest thing I hear is nobody else is talking about this.
Running as Republicans and Democrats, we'll give you the numbers coming up here and the tremendous success that we've had in New Hampshire. It's Free Talk Live.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Have you ever wanted to quit your job and be your own boss? Interested in investing in real estate, flipping homes, paying off your mortgage in 5 to 10 years, making up to $10,000 in commissions while you learn? Go to wealthcreationinstitution.com now. Find out why we're ranked in the top 2% of the fastest growing companies in the United States, according to Inc. 5000. Limited positions available. Go now. wealthcreationinstitution.com. That's wealthcreationinstitution.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your AMP will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you AMP Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Wednesday, gold is $15 higher at $1,290 per ounce. Silver is 27 cents higher at $18.67 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $726 US. Precious metals prices are trending higher based on uncertainty and change. We are going to see a lot of that. Call Robertson Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us on the radio waves here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have Skype, and you may Skype in at Skype username LRN.FM. There are, of course, a lot of interesting results from around the United States. We were talking about the medical marijuana and the actual legalization measures. I think you pointed out off the air, Daryl, I don't think you mentioned this on the air, but the number of states that have legal marijuana has doubled.
It's
went from
doubled,
4 to 8.
And the number of people that live in a state with taxed
marijuana.
and regulated
legal
and
marijuana,
regulated recreational cannabis is going to quadruple.
Yeah, that's huge. And that actually comes back to a conversation that we had on this show, and I don't think either of you were on it. I think it was our Tuesday night show a couple weeks ago, where we were reading a story about banking and doing the marijuana business and how
it's
hard
impossible
it is.
to get a bank.
It's so hard to get a bank account. They looked at some of the numbers. They talked to some of these bankers, and they found that like 3% of the U.S. banks are willing to actually accept accounts with marijuana. And
right, because cannabis is still illegal at the federal level.
Right.
And even
banks
though
are federally regulated.
Right. And banks are federally regulated. And even though the Department of Justice has said we're not going to, go after state blah, 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 the banks are still scared to wind up doing business by and large with somebody that's in the cannabis industry. So you've got these, legal businesses that are having to operate as if they're an underground business.
And it's worse than what you think.
This bank, go rent a storage facility and throw all of our money into it, and it looks like Breaking Bad.
It's worse than what you think, though. It was a really detailed story, and one of the things they pointed out in the beginning of the story was one of the guys they talked about was a business owner who was being told no by the banks.
Right.
Thing is, he wasn't a grower. or any kind of distributor or a retail outlet. He made videos about marijuana. He was a media business. That's all he did. He made videos. And they pointed out, they kept telling him, no, we don't want to be involved with cannabis-related businesses. He's like, we don't even smoke cannabis. We're just making videos
Well,
about
there are
it.
a lot of banks that also don't want to be involved with businesses that do pornography.
Yeah, well, right. As I was going to say, strip clubs have had problems like this. We've reported on lots of situations where banks just decide, we're just not going to do business with you. Now, I think that...
Your name's Ian. We don't want to do business with you.
I think that I think that businesses should be able to discern who they're going to do business with and not.
That's true.
But the problem
But they're not
is,
doing it based on a good business decision. They're doing it based out of fear of regulation,
That's
fear
what the
of
reason is,
federal raids, and fear of federal scrutiny. But the thing that
government's capricious, and that's one of the problems. You never know when they're going to crack down. The banks never know when they're going to come after them for some reason.
Right.
This isn't cartelized behavior on the bank's part. This is just fear of capricious enforcement.
Well, it was interesting because one of the points they made in the article was that coming up in the election, which is now over, that there were all these states that are considering legalization, that if they passed, there would be a tremendous new amount of potential customers for these marijuana businesses. You just said it will quadruple the amount of people who could be serviced, in theory, by businesses like this, which means there's going to be even more demand now. I mean, in California, it's going to be huge. There's going to be even more demand now for these businesses that need banking services. So that's going to give some bank an incentive to figure this out. Maybe they can get like federal raid insurance or something like that. The market is going to have to figure something out here for these guys.
Yeah.
Maybe the marijuana industry can form its own bank at this point. I mean, or at some point here, because this has got to break.
I don't know if they'd be able to do a bank, but definitely a credit union.
Credit union, right.
Yeah.
And that was actually one of the examples they gave, which we didn't actually get to in the story because it was really lengthy and really interesting. But one of the examples they talked about was a credit union boss who they interviewed about, why they ended up deciding to go ahead and accept cannabis-based accounts. And basically, he was persuaded by a few of the members of the board of directors. So you're likely going to have a better time getting an account like that at a credit union where you are technically one of the owners, if you will, of the credit union. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out.
Let's jump back to some of the victories for the Libertarian Party.
Let me give you a victory before you do that, because I don't want to miss this for tonight.
Yes.
The other victory, I wrote a lengthy piece over at freekeen.com. The first victory was the fact that the Libertarian Party got ballot access here in basically a major
first time in
status.
20 years.
Yeah, that's huge. And then also, a lot of people have been wondering, how'd the Free Staters do? Well, thankfully, we have a local hate group called Granite State Progress. Now, this is an evil lobbying group. These people lobby for big government, so they're essentially the opposite of Liberty Lobby.
Progress means socialism.
Yeah. And by the way, the lady who's in charge of this group isn't from New Hampshire either. She's from out of state and moved here however many years ago. So anyway, Granite State Progress comes out with this website called freestateprojectwatch.org. They launched it last year, 2014.
And I loved the resumes that they put up for some of these candidates.
I actually didn't take the time to look at it.
Well, one of the guys, Darren Tapp, said that he would use that as his resume, but it seemed to be too self-aggrandizing. So
it made him sound too liberty.
It made him sound too good, to where they kept referencing he's a math teacher and he puts his classes online, as if that's some kind of evil thing.
Well, it's a threat to the teachers union, which they support.
Yeah, I guess.
So the second big win last night was the election of Libertarians running as Republicans and Democrats statewide, despite active and expensive campaigns by haters to out them as so-called Free Staters, which is what they did in the year 2014. The big government lobbying group Granite State Progress published a well-researched list of the state rep and Senate candidates that they believe to be Free Staters.
And I got to say, the list I looked at was very responsible. They sort of made this secondary title of sort of honorary Free Stater. The people that they doled it out to, I mean, if I were going to make this list, this is likely how I would make it. I mean, it's a pretty responsible list.
I agree. That's why I said it was well researched, and it can be used as a voter's guide for people that love liberty as well. Like, I don't know all the free staters. I don't know who they all are. So looking at a list of people, I don't know what I'm looking at. But they've done the research, so now I can look at their list and say, hey, here's the free staters.
Well, one of the criteria that they used was, does the person have any ties to the NHLA?
The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance.
Have they been endorsed by or volunteered for, or are they on the board of the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance?
Yeah, and they did more than that too. But anyway, they figured out in 2014, just to kind of compare last time to this time, in 2014, they outed what they called 39 free staters. Now, free staters is a pejorative term that they use to describe a libertarian who's running as a Republican or Democrat, because they're not really accurate necessarily on who has moved here all the time. So sometimes they'll list someone who didn't move here, but they might have been born here, but they hang out with free staters.
So that's the honorary tag.
Yeah. But sometimes they're wrong about that too. Right. But they're pretty good at figuring it out. Anyway, they listed 39 in 2014. Of those 39, 15 of them got elected.
Okay.
This time, in 2016, they identified 32 candidates as so-called free staters, and of those 32, 15 of them got elected, which means that there was a higher percentage of the people that they outed as free staters who got elected this time around. Even though the number was the same, it was a higher percentage, and they still missed some people. So there were at least, I was looking on some Facebook posts, there were at least 3 or 4 people that were identified in a Facebook group as should have been on this list who weren't on the list. So there were at least 18 or 19 solid, liberty-oriented, like pretty hardcore, pretty principled, liberty-minded people who won. But that's not the only numbers that I looked at here today. At your suggestion, Daryl, I checked out the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance and looked at their endorsements for this year.
I could care less who moved for the Free State Project that got elected. I think that's, frankly, a silly number. What I care about
It's not silly to people who wonder how the Free Staters are doing.
Yeah, but why? Why do you care where somebody's from in New Hampshire?
Are the people moving being successful?
They are.
Well, no, I think that a better question is, how is Liberty doing in New Hampshire?
855, 450 free. It's doing well. We'll continue. Free Talk Live.
You want disruption? You got disruption. Cell 411, the world's most disruptive and empowering app, knows you want ride sharing with payment options for cash, Bitcoin, silver, and barter, as well as credit cards. And they know you want more than promises. Cell 411 delivers. The same great emergency management app, now with ride sharing. Freedom to travel is a right. You don't need big business telling you how to do it and taking fees. Go to the App Store now and download Cell 411 and get riding.
Do you need a website for your blog or new business? It can be pretty intimidating on your own, and that's why Free Talk Live has partnered with HostGator, one of the top hosting companies. HostGator offers a simple, one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over-the-phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive, user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation back into your hands. Go to HostGator.com/FTL, and you'll get 50% off of their regular hosting prices. 50% off. HostGator.com/FTL.
Winter has just begun, and are you already tired of being cold? How would you like to never be cold again? This is Dale with Fortress Clothing, and I'm here to tell you, you will never be cold again with Fortress. If you're tired of freezing your butt off, elk hunting, sitting in a tree stand deer hunting, winter camping, fishing, ice fishing, no longer fear the cold. If you snowmobile, ski, snowboard, get Fortress. Sledding with the kids, shoveling the walks, shopping, or if you or your spouse get cold feet at home, get Fortress. If you're stuck outside working in the cold or find yourself in an emergency situation, get our winter bug out bag and you will never be cold again. Fortress is the answer, so quit complaining and go to fortressclothing.com. It's a mid-layer garment that goes with anything you want to wear. Enter coupon code RADIO and get 20% off any item. Go now while we still have inventory. FortressClothing.com.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything you want. In these remaining moments, we do have enough time for you if you want to join us. We're sharing with you some of the tremendous successes that libertarians in New Hampshire have had. Now, it was pretty good for some libertarians elsewhere, and Daryl's got a few other highlights. But really, the real core of the libertarian movement has been moving to New Hampshire, and that's because the idea of concentrating activism makes sense, and we've proven that it works. I mean, at this point, the amount of liberty-oriented people in the state legislature in New Hampshire has continued to go up over the years. Now, last year, or in 2014 to 2016, it was about on par as far as the number of so-called free staters who got elected, which is a good thing to even keep it on par or move it forward. And we're going to get more people moving here, which means more people will be able to run for office. As we pointed out in 2018, libertarians will be able to qualify for office at the same easy levels as the Republicans and Democrats.
Yes.
And already there are people who are pledging they're going to run.
Yes.
So we've already got people signing on for a major libertarian candidate, sort of massive sweep of the election ballots out there in 2018. Very exciting. In related news, now, as I pointed out, of the 32 people that were outed by Granite State Progress, 15 of them won their election. Similar to last time. Last time, Granite State Progress identified 39 candidates, and of those, 15 won. So there was a higher percentage that won this time around than in 2014. And that alone would be good news. But there's even better news. Some of them really just cleaned up, like Carol McGuire, who's like a 6 or 7 term state rep now. At this point. She got 62%, reelected with 62% of the vote. Keith Ammon, who's an incumbent free stater who was targeted by an expensive full-color direct mail hit piece flyer that was mailed to households in his district, attacking him as like anti-family and evil, and he loves small government, so he hates your family, and it was a really ridiculous flyer. They actually he won. So the flyer apparently didn't hurt him, and maybe you could argue it actually helped him, because people who want less government, if they receive a flyer saying this guy wants to dismantle the state government, then they're going to vote for him. This is New Hampshire.
It reminds me of the really old episode of The Simpsons where Bart was running for class president, And whoever it was that he was running against was putting up signs that says, a vote for Bart is a vote for anarchy. And Bart was putting up signs that said, a vote for Bart is a vote for anarchy.
Not only that, but the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance's endorsed candidates also did very well, with 66 of their 101 endorsements for New Hampshire State House in the general election winning their races last night, and 4 of their 7 New Hampshire Senate endorsees winning theirs. Now, that's one of my big questions, is the people who won Senate. We know that a bunch of prohibitionists left. A few different prohibitionists in the Senate left. And we were talking about marijuana.
A third of the senators wound up leaving. There's 24 senators. 8 of them wound up leaving.
So we were talking about marijuana and, what's holding it back here in New Hampshire. And the Senate was a sticking point for this issue. Even for decriminalization, it was a sticking point in addition to the governor's office. Well, now there's a new governor in who's supposedly friendly towards decrim. We'll see what happens. But now we also have new fresh blood in the Senate, 4 of whom are New Hampshire Liberty Alliance endorsees.
Well, the question is whether or not we will be able to convince, I believe it was Sharon Carson,
a senator,
senator that got reelected. I believe it was her that said, I heard that if you put cannabis in a grinder, it turns it into keef, which is 90% THC.
Oh, yeah, this lady is full of BS.
And she said that on the floor of the Senate during debate on a decrim bill.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's my understanding from the analysis I've seen that it's going to be much easier this go around, that some of the heads that have rolled have been the right heads. So that's a very good thing.
I hope so.
I got to say that I think I'm proud of Granite State Progress for the way they've done this. They haven't lied at any point, and they could. Right, they could just come out with a hit piece of some sort, and they don't do that. They've played politics the right way, even though they've tried to get Free Staters out of office.
So anyway, that's the numbers I have.
And not
for
just Free Staters, but people that are liberty-oriented.
Liberty-oriented. And I think that, I wanted to go over that. However many Free Staters happen to be in office, that's one thing. But the NHLA, the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, of whom I am a life member, and Ian, I believe you're the same. And
as
am I.
We all are.
It's a great organization.
It is a great organization.
Unprecedented and unmatched anywhere else in the United States.
Yep. And
or the world.
They endorsed somewhere between like 70 and 80. I'm sorry, they had between 70 and 80 endorsed candidates in the New Hampshire House last go around, which was something like 20%. 80 would be 20%, and that's an incredible number of libertarians. Now, these are nominal libertarians. These are not, hardline libertarians. These are people who are 80% and above.
I want to point something out here, because you just said 70 or 80, and they got 66 in this time.
Is that so?
The political director, or one of the directors of the NHLA, addressed this on a post on Facebook, like why this discrepancy. They've tightened their endorsement requirements. They've tightened the qualifications as far as liberty or whatever that somebody has to get. So even though it seems like a lower number, it's actually a better set of endorsees that has been elected.
Yeah,
right. And I actually had a conversation with the chairman.
Is his name.
I had a conversation with the chairman of the NHLA back in February, where I said that I think that there are too many state reps getting A ratings. And he said, well, the way we do it is to where we kind of grade on a curve to where there's an equal number of people per basket. And I said, I don't think you necessarily should do that. Like, that's not good for liberty as I see it, because then people are getting a higher rating than they should get.
Right.
And I believe was it my recommendation that they introduced legislation in the calculation of state reps ratings. So if you introduce really bad legislation, but you vote the right way, well, you're going to lose a couple of points. If you introduce really good legislation, but you vote the wrong way, you'll pick up a couple of points.
Yeah, and this is sort of relevant to people who are outside of New Hampshire because, you could start something like this, which has, 15 years
Colorado
worth of legs.
has something similar.
But 15 years worth of continuity to it. Or you could have, if liberty is important to you, you could pick up and move to New Hampshire.
Yes.
And it's already put together for you and rolling and doing quite well.
Yes. So let's real quick go through some of these other wins that the Libertarian Party did have.
Sure.
Nationwide. Libertarian Party gained ballot status in the District of Criminals. In Iowa, for the first time ever, the Libertarian Party is ballot qualified, same as Kentucky. The Green Party became ballot qualified in Missouri for the first time since 2002. We've already mentioned New Hampshire Libertarians qualified for the first time in 20 years. In New Mexico, the Libertarians are now entitled to their own primary for the first time ever. Richard Winger of Ballot Access News says that this will make it far easier for the party to run candidates for Congress, state legislature, and partisan county office. The Libertarians are ballot qualified for the first time in Oklahoma, and I believe it's the first time since the Reform Party was ballot qualified in Oklahoma that anybody other than a Republican or Democrat has been ballot qualified there.
Yeah, that's kind of big news because you've always said that Oklahoma is like the worst place to be a third party.
Yes,
it is.
And Oklahoma does not allow write-in votes. So from 2000 until 2012, those elections, the only candidates on the general election ballot were Republican and Democrat.
Wow.
Both the Libertarians and Greens picked up political party status in Pennsylvania. While this does not put them on the ballot automatically, it does restore the party to voter registration form and allows them to nominate candidates in special elections without the need for a petition. Another huge, I guess in a way, a moral victory for Libertarians in Alaska. Joe Miller, who in 2010 was the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate, was the Libertarian nominee this year. He outpolled the Democrat.
Wow.
The Libertarian polled 29.6%.
Wow.
Democrat polled 11.1%. First time ever that a Libertarian nominee for Congress has ever outpolled a major party nominee.
Nice. Yeah, Alaska's got a decent Liberty Party up there, a Libertarian Party.
Yes. That was the one that I wanted to vote for the Free State Project way, way, way back when.
I picked them for third place.
Yeah, I wanted them first because they, they're just not attached.
You wanted that welfare check.
They're just not attached.
Hey, we are out of time here tonight, but we'll be back tomorrow night. You can join us online in the meantime over at freetalklive.com. If you want to see details on the election, check out freekeen.com.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
The latest episode of Cop Block Radio is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, November 9th, 2016. Silver is trading at $18.66 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,317 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 3.7 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $735. Antiwar.com reports a series of airstrikes and artillery attacks against the various targets in the Nusra Front-controlled northwestern Syrian province of Idlib have left at least 20 people killed, 10 of them civilians, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The largest attack, according to the observatory, was in Khan Shaykhun, where 7 children and 2 pregnant women were killed. The observatory said their initial information was that the strikes were carried out by Russian forces. Russia's defense ministry, however, denied any involvement, saying that no Russian airplanes had been operating in the area and complaining that the observatory was engaged in information provocations against them. Though it's often unclear who is responsible for such strikes, Russia has carried out multiple attacks against Idlib in the recent weeks. While Russia does not always provide absolute clarity on their operations, it is unusual for them to offer such a pointed denial.
In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
UPI reports Republicans will maintain at least a foothold in the federal government by retaining their majority in the U.S. House of Representatives, though control of the Senate is still too early to call. It's unclear what the GOP majority will be in the House, but NBC News was the first to report that they will at least remain in the majority, and it is likely Speaker Paul Ryan will remain in the leadership role to begin 2017. In the battle for the Senate, 3 of the 9 races most likely to decide control have been called, 2 for Republicans and 1 a pickup for the Democrats, the first of 5 they will need to win an outright majority. GOP Senator Marco Rubio won re-election to his seat in Florida, a race he entered late, only after his presidential campaign faltered. And Tammy Duckworth, the Democratic Illinois Congresswoman, defeated incumbent GOP Senator Mark Kirk in a race that was widely predicted would have handed Democrats one of the seats they were looking for. The 9 races where a seat is open or most likely to change hands were in New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Illinois, Wisconsin, Missouri, Nevada, Florida, and Indiana. Coming into Tuesday, the House seemed a much safer bet for Republicans, and the election night tallies proved true. The GOP held an enormous 59-seat advantage coming into Tuesday. The nonpartisan Cook Political Report listed 18 seats as pure toss-ups, not enough to flip control of the chamber to Democrats even if they ran the table in all of them.
For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co.
Reuters reports Energy Transfer Partners LP on Tuesday said it was not slowing down construction of an oil pipeline in North Dakota that is contested by environmentalist and Native American groups. The owners of the Dakota Access Pipeline on Tuesday said it was moving equipment to prepare for tunneling under Lake Oahe, the water source that has been the focus of protest, even as federal regulators have not given a go-ahead signal that the line will be able to proceed. Army Corps spokesman Thomas O'Hara told Bloomberg News on Monday that the company had agreed to slow down construction, a statement Energy Transfer refuted. Energy Transfer Partners LP said in a statement on Tuesday the statement released last night by the Army Corps was a mistake and the Army Corps intends to rescind it. To be clear, Dakota Access Pipeline has not voluntarily agreed to halt construction of the pipeline in North Dakota. Construction on part of the $3.7 billion Dakota Access Pipeline was halted in September following protests by the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and others who said the line would desecrate sacred grounds and a spill could contaminate drinking water. President Barack Obama last week said the U.S. government was looking at ways to reroute the pipeline. The continued construction comes amid mounting pressure from activists on banks financing the pipeline to pull their support. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A prison reform group issued a disturbing new study this week calling conditions in women's correctional facilities deplorably unsexy. The report contends that women's prisons are bleak, dangerous environments with shockingly few soapy showers and erotically charged pillow fights. According to the Prison Justice Initiative, quote, "It's a shame that in today's society we still have jails that don't encourage kittenish girl-on-girl exploration. Prison shouldn't be a hotbed of gang violence and drugs. It should be a steamy Shangri-La where caged nymphets discover the sexuality away from the leering eyes of male society." The investigation revealed living conditions that many are calling cruel and degrading, but not in a fun or kinky way. The study's author argues that incarceration should be about more than just punishment.
The purpose of prison isn't just to lock people in a box and forget about them. It's to provide opportunities for naughty girls to play nice with each other.
Next up, a team of jock scientists have reportedly thrown the cure for asthma onto the roof of the lab. We'll talk to the nerds struggling to retrieve it.
This is the Onion News Network.
What you want, what you gonna do? Oh, you know that sound. It means Cop Block Radio is about to begin. Filmed live on location. No one was harmed in the making of this episode. Well, we don't know that yet. How are you? I'm good. You know, I haven't been contacted by any law enforcement this week, and I'm happy about that. And I hope that you can say the same. You know, it's not every week that you go a week without any encounters with law enforcement. You know, I had one a little bit that I want to share with you briefly. I was in a Qdoba restaurant last night, and a K9 police unit came in. Not the whole unit, you know, he left his dog out in the car, but this guy, you know, the buzz cut, the muscles, the super beefed up vest, you know, he could barely fit into his uniform. He went and ordered some tacos, and I was talking about him. We were the only people in the restaurant. It was me and my partner across from me at the table, and this cop were the only ones in the restaurant. And, you know, I took the opportunity to say things like, hey, I'm so glad that restaurants and places like this feel free to play F the police when people like that come in. And man, who does that guy think he is? Like some kind of drug warrior? What an embarrassment. I mean, it's so weird that he walks around wearing a bulletproof vest. I mean, he must be really paranoid and think that people are out to get him. I mean, what is he doing that people would want to do him harm? Most people don't have to walk around with bulletproof vests. But he's that kind of person. He signed up to, you know, protect and serve the shit out of you and take your money. So, you know, I love the horizontal enforcement opportunities that we're constantly afforded by police being in uniform. You know, we can easily identify these thugs and give them what for. Tell them how you feel. You know, without speaking to them directly. Of course, I was speaking to my partner, so it's not like I was calling him a pig or saying, hey, get out of here, man, which would also be totally fine. But no, I took the opportunity to make the situation uncomfortable for him, and he decided maybe he was already going to just take his order to go, but he decided not to stay. And I think that's a victory. You know, I don't want those people to feel comfortable anywhere around me. They are not welcome. I think they're doing a disservice to our community. They're making it less safe, and they're completely unnecessary thanks to apps like Cell 411, which if you don't have it yet, definitely go to the App Store. It's so cool. Even for Apple, iPhones, you can download this app. It's free on Android or whatever you use. And they just introduced ride sharing this week. So you can actually, I mean, this is not something that police do unless you're arrested, but you can hail for a ride from someone else who's using the app. There's no sign up required. There's no registration process. There's no approval. It's, hey, I've got a car. I'm going to give someone a ride. We can negotiate ourselves, totally peer-to-peer. And that's what's so cool about the app. You know, you can call for an emergency, have your friends show up, build this network of people around you. Even strangers can support you in an emergency. And this is just awesome. It's beautiful. It's wonderful to see every week. Measurably, the police are reducing in power. You know, people think, oh, they got more guns, they got more things, and, you know, tanks or whatever. No, they are reducing in power because people stop using them, they stop calling them, and most importantly, they drop that silly illusion, that superstition that these people are so high and mighty and so important, and just, oh, we just gotta bow at their feet. These are the officer friendly. You know, he's here to save the day. Well, the days of Andy Griffith are over. I think most people know that cops are not your friends. You don't want to talk to them. They're only looking for criminals, and they're endangering your life and your community. So, with that intro, let's talk about what's at the top of copblock.org today. Oh, man, with this Halloween, it was crazy with all the stories, predictably, of, oh, candy was found with needles in it and nails, and this is all propaganda, and we'll cover that. So what's some of the headlines at the top of copblock.org? Bam! Federal lawsuit details Meriden Police Department retaliation against a Connecticut man. Fresh at the top of copblock.org. That story by Kelly Patterson. Then, call flood. This is happening now. Illinois cop falsely claims Halloween candy laced with marijuana. We'll get to that story, and maybe you can participate in the call flood. Pretty fun. Fresno Sheriff's deputies conduct a felony stop on a driver's training student. So you know the story. This is, you're taking a test drive in one of these cars so that you can learn, you get your driver's license or whatever, and pass the little stupid hula hoops you got to jump through to get the approval of the state, and that's not good enough. Fresno. Brian Sumner's got the story. Of course, he's always got an eye on what's going on in Fresno. Oh, speaking of, this got 1,000 shares this week. Fresno sheriff's deputy accidentally killed by another cop. Whoops. Dylan Donnelly reports on that story, and Milwaukee police must consider alternatives to handle underreported opioid crisis. That and more. Most importantly, perhaps, there's an update on Jay Anderson. Never held a gun to a Tosa officer. Police moved the gun from the car. That got over 1,000 shares. Very important, and blowing up, going viral on Cop Block. We'll get into all that and more. Plus, we can take your calls. We have the power now. For a little while, we were disconnected from Skype and I don't want to take calls. I'm sorry. It's just like actual phone calls. You've got to, if you have something important and valuable to share with the world, you've got to take the step to use Skype. I'm not saying I love Skype. It's a Microsoft product, whatever. Its audio quality is better. And if you have a message for people, then you have to have it in high quality audio or they won't listen. So you can't tell your story like this. This is not good. No one wants to hear this. And that's what it sounds like when people call in using a regular phone. So don't do that. We don't even make it an option. You can Skype into the show. Our username is Cop Block Radio, all one word. And I would love to hear from you. Hey, if not, I've got those stories to cover it. And we, so this is going to continue for the next couple of months. I was just talking with Cop Block founder Damo Freeman about he's going to be taking over the show with Joshua Hodgkin. It's going to be badass starting in January 2017, but I'll keep you coasting through and feed your need for these Cop Block stories because they're being published, they're being posted, they're being shared around in text form. I think we should talk about them. I don't read long stories generally. I like to listen to them. So hopefully you do too. Here's the first story. Federal lawsuit details Meridian Police Department retaliation against a Connecticut man. And this following post was shared with the Cop Block Network by Kerry Marshall via the copblock.org submissions page. And you can do this too. Anyone can submit their own stories to copblock.org via copblock.org/submit. That's the website, and it'll ask you, what was the date of the incident, who are the officers involved, what was the department involved, and what's the department's phone number. And if you can answer all those questions and give a brief recount of the story, bam, your article gets posted to the front page of copblock.org, where it could get thousands of shares, maybe even millions if it gets picked up by other outlets. So let's continue. He says, within the post, Kerry discusses a federal lawsuit he has filed against the city of Meriden, Connecticut, and the Meriden Police Department, in which he alleges he was arrested and harassed by members of the MPD in retaliation for a previous lawsuit he filed. Kerry states that the previous lawsuit resulted in the resignation of a Connecticut state trooper named Tom Toplos, who is the brother of Tim Toplos, a Meridian deputy chief of police. Wow, so this is big. And why do people do this? I'm against this. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think there's some value to it. But using the state to combat the state seems antithetical. It's just not going to work. And we'll see if this guy was successful or not. But I have a prediction. No. Hey, state agent, I'm going to take you to state court where the state judge is going to decide whether you're state guilty or not. I'll put you in a state cage. Oh, no, he decided that you're not guilty despite all evidence? I'm shocked. Why don't I just keep using the state to try and find justice? I think it's time for a new tactic. We'll talk about that and more when Cop Block Radio returns.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
There's no better app for tracking the value of cryptocurrencies than CoinCap. I've had a lot of apps for tracking Bitcoin, but none that's ever been able to track 500 digital assets at once. Their best feature is the Altfolio. I love this thing. You enter how many Bitcoins, Ether, Dash, Doge, or whatever else you have, and it tells you how much your crypto is worth. You can watch yourself get rich. If you have crypto, go right now to coincap.io, or you can use the Apple Store or Google Play to get the app. I love CoinCap. coincap.io.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Anyone go as a cop for Halloween? You know, one of the best costumes I ever saw was Christopher Cantwell. Some of you may know him. A few years ago, he attended my Hello Keene dance party in Keene, New Hampshire, and he was the bouncer for my party, keeping the bad guys out. He went as a good cop. I'll leave you to figure out what that exactly means, and we'll get right into the story about this federal lawsuit that this man is bringing against the local police department in his town, and also the city. He's bringing a federal lawsuit against the city, basically saying, hey, this bigger gang, you guys should bring to court this smaller gang. How's it going to work out for him? Let's find out. So within the post, Kerry Marshall discusses a federal lawsuit he filed against the city of Meriden, Connecticut, and the Meriden Police Department. He alleges he was arrested and harassed by members of the MPD in retaliation to a previous lawsuit he filed. This happened November 5th. Oh, remember, the 5th of November, 2010. Who was involved? Law enforcers Evan Cosette, Tom Zachareski. I don't know. It's Polish. John Slezak, Sergeant Bob Peckrell, and Police Chief Jeffrey Cosette. So it's a family affair. And the department involved is the City of Meriden, Connecticut Department of Law and Meriden Police Department. Their phone number, in case you wish to get involved, is 203-630-4030. The article begins, Kerry Marshall's federal lawsuit, civil number, then it's got a reference. If you want to look it up, go ahead. It's a long string of numbers. In the District of Connecticut, alleges that on the evening of November 5th, 2010, he was accosted by Meriden, Connecticut police officer Evan Cosette and Sergeant Bob Peckrell at a local Cumberland Farms convenience store / gas station for the express purpose of retaliating for Marshall having previously filed a federal lawsuit about a traffic stop he endured inside his private driveway, which led to the resignation of then Middlefield, Connecticut resident state trooper Topoulos. So this is like an obvious case where this is going to happen. Okay, the police harassed this guy. He fought back. The trooper got fired. What do you think? You could just stay in that town and the rest of the department's not going to be upset with you? They're not going to have a bone to pick? They're not going to make your life a living hell? You know, you can't get justice within the system. I'm sorry, but that's the reality. So I'm pissed at this guy for thinking, and he just keeps escalating it. Like, oh yeah, suddenly you bring in the feds, and then all the police in your town are going to be your friend? Like, get out of there, man. You live in effing Connecticut. There's no freedom to be had. Just leave. New Hampshire's right there. The suit alleges that Cosette and Peckrell falsely claimed that Marshall's car being backed into a stall from the gas pumps and that Marshall, having not exited the vehicle, signaled to them that a potential drug transaction was about to occur. They also claimed that the Cumberland Farms location on Broad Street was the site of numerous drug arrests over the past several years. In addition, they falsely claimed that a check of Connecticut motor vehicle records revealed no registration information for Marshall's Lexus IS 300, or LS 300. Contrary to Cosette and Peckrell's claims, Marshall's suit points to the falsehood of the officers' claims in that they have no police data or information showing that the site is infamous for drug arrests, nor did they seek to retrieve any information from the Connecticut DMV regarding his car. So they're just making shit up. And we know that they do this, right? Like, you know, it's your instinct. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I see two bullies picking on some innocent guy. He's not, he's not bothering anyone. And then the police go and act all thug on him. And then later use some made-up cause to justify, oh, yeah, well, lots of drug things happen there. Oh, yeah, by the way, and it wasn't registered. They never even looked it up. So all it takes is just a little bit of investigation on these people. And they leave the tracks for you to follow. You can see that these people are total criminals, making shit up and then arresting you for it. They're thugs. It's blind bullying. So let's see what happens to them. However, information was later discovered within their own records showing that they made an inquiry with the NCIC, a federal agency, in a not so well thought out attempt to ruse Marshall about the status of his car and make a case against him. Marshall's suit alleges that Cosette and Peckrell utilized illegal and unauthorized cell phone tracking data to locate Marshall and falsely claimed he never exited the parked vehicle. In fact, the suit alleges that evidence shows that he was at the Cumberland Farms store to reload a prepaid credit card and had exited the vehicle to do so, something the officers failed to put in their police report. So it's just lies, lies, lies. In a way, I'm thankful for a guy like this who's going to put all the evidence together and point out the lies of all these cops, because we know they lie. Cops lie. It's a famous license plate. Famous slogan. Cops lie. They can lie on the stand. They get away with it. They're allowed. They're legally allowed to lie. They have immunity for it. So it's no surprise that they exercise that freedom that they have to be the bullies that they want to be. I mean, if kids in your class, if punks on the playground were allowed to just make shit up and then tell the principal, like, oh yeah, I beat up this kid, but he attacked me, or oh, he was doing something bad, wouldn't they abuse that? And these are just, grown-up children. So also alleged is that Cosette and Peckrell used extremely tight handcuffs on Marshall and hurled him into an unmarked police van for transport to the police station. Excessive force was used on Marshall at the station by Officer Sierczewski, while Officer Slezak stood in the door of the holding cell laughing and taunting him. According to the lawsuit, in July of 2015, Cosette and Peckrell's charges of misuse of a license plate, driving an unregistered car, resisting arrest, and public disorder concluded in Marshall's favor. And as the case now stands, all defendants, including Police Chief Jeffrey Cosette, Officer Evan Cosette's father, are being held accountable for either false arrest, excessive police force, failure to intervene, failure to supervise, and retaliating against Marshall for having exercised his First Amendment rights regarding a preceding federal action he filed. That action caused the resignation of then Middlefield resident State Trooper Topoulos, whom it turns out is the brother of Meriden Deputy Police Chief Timothy Topoulos. So it is a family affair. Yeah, everyone's related. They're all a bunch of gang members, liars, thieves, con artists. And they live off the backs of everyone else. They literally make an income stealing your money. They don't even make an income because it's theft. So to add insult to injury, in addition to going around hurting people and locking them up on false charges, they're paid for by force. You don't even get an option not to pay for these goons. All right, when we come back, call flood coming up. You want to call Illinois cops about some Halloween candy?
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
If you're looking for work, you know what I mean by elevator speech. It's the short version, saying just enough to make the listener want to listen more. Even if you're not a job seeker, effective communication skills have never been more important, with money and attention so scarce now. So to cut through the clutter, choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Instead of saying, due to the fact that, say, because. And avoid mispronunciations. Say jewelry, not jewelry, which could offend. Undoubtedly, you don't want to say undoubtedly. And whatever you do, never use a preposition to end a sentence with. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
On the second Saturday of every month, the Texas Republic Congress meets in a joint session. To learn how you can attend or become a member of Congress, visit thetexasrepublic.com. And together, we can liberate Texas.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu. 641-793-9660.
Are you tired of hearing things like this on the radio and television?
I've read the Quran, the Hadiths, the Surahs. 90% of it is violence.
Terrorism, Islamic terrorism, ISIS, Islamic terrorism.
I would even submit to you that Islam's not even a religion. It's a social, political system that uses a deity to advance its agenda of global conquest.
Wouldn't you much rather hear things like this?
And Muslims traditionally were very libertarian in their approach.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, says even at times of war, you don't break a tree, you don't destroy buildings, you don't kill women and children, you don't kill the aged and the elderly.
What's called income tax in classical Islam is definitely prohibited. Muslims are very wary of any scholar who associates closely with the government, and they always have been.
Join Will Coley and his rotating cast of scholars on Call to Freedom every Sunday night from 10 p.m. to midnight on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Hey, did you know you could get your very own shiny badge from copblock.org? It's true. Just go to copblock.org/store or on any articles page, you will be able to see a link on the right side. It says Copblock lapel pin, Copblock shiny badge, Copblock network sticker, a mixed bag of stickers, t-shirts, F the police, everything. It's going to be your favorite gym shirt, your favorite everyday shirt. So go check it out, copblock.org. Woo! You know, actually buying stuff from copblock.org is what keeps Copblock around. It's that simple. So, if you like what Copblock is about and what they've done and the culture that they've created and filming the police and reporting stories like these, go show them some love by throwing them some dough. I think they take Bitcoin. And I think the best way you could support them is by joining the Cop Block Network. That's even cooler. That's a group of regular donors, people who subscribe. It could be just $1 a month. But, you know, when you're giving $1 a month of your energy to an organization, that allows them to plan for the future and plan for growing. You know, and if everyone gave $1 to copblock.org who shares their stories or reads their content or subscribes, I mean, they'd have millions of dollars a month, literally. So, you know, starts with you. Just give them $1. The Bureau County Sheriff's Office tried creating a public scare, but evidence against their claims tells another story. This from Joshua Scott Hodgkin, posted earlier today. Call flood. Illinois cops falsely claim Halloween candy laced with marijuana. Yeah, this isn't the Mary Janes that you're used to receiving on Halloween. This is a very different, more expensive type of, and more desirable, frankly, type of treat. Last night, I ran across some news items detailing the allegedly tainted candy in a small Illinois town. About an hour's worth of investigation, it became clear that the candy was not as police claimed it was. I broke that story at dankspace.com. Quote, first of all, the report claims it was 1 candy bar, but the picture showed 4. Google Images search of the candy pic turned up only articles related to the Bureau Sheriff's claims. I could find no candy listed by that name either. Odd. So I looked closer. Turns out I didn't even need to look that close. There are clearly Japanese characters printed on the candies. Japan is even more strict about marijuana and other drugs than America, so there's almost no chance whatsoever that some Japanese cannabis candy made its way to rural Illinois and into trick-or-treat bags. The marijuana leaves on them, those are Japanese maple leaves. They're a very popular design image and do look rather like marijuana leaves. But the sheriff claimed they actually tested the candy. Did they? Did anyone actually report the candy? Why were no names given? Often in cases like these, the police and media will parade the family around for some public good moralizing. But in this case, we were given a public statement and a Facebook post. Doesn't seem fishy to you? I shared this story